feel you when you're not around. When the night gets cold, I won't be alone. We won't be I won't let it die. I can feel you when you're not around.
Tries to hold on to the bottom. Here comes Gisette. They make contact. They touch once, twice, 3 times. Oh, trouble! Oh, no, Rocky into the wall. Big crash front straightaway. Huge crash coming into the triangle. No, Rocky up and into the air.
They're beating and banging. Burn on the bottom. Cosman up top. I
Kaufman, I think. No, Barr by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph, no! At the line, Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe. Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your foot in. He got it. He's got it. He's got it. Canvas is going to win. Round 2 of the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series is live from Talladega Super Speedway. Tonight we have a 117 lap main event for you. I'm Caleb Hoffman alongside Derek Watson, Zach Johnson producing tonight. Derek, we're in for a wild kick in the tires 500K tonight.
Yeah, that's right. We're in for, as you said, a wild 500K race. Anything can happen. It's an event that every driver marks on the calendar because, as we've seen many times, anyone can win a race like this.
Absolutely. Gritting up right now. Last week at Texas, we had a wild round of 12 opener as well. Of course, this is the second race in the round of 12. Looking at our starting lineup right now, we have Nate Stewart and Blake Bryan on the pole with Ethan Corder and Dylan Basin in row number 2. Alex Kolonix and Nathan Rabideau in the third row with Phil McCandless and Parker White behind. Tyler Gary and Kyler Wynn will round out our top 10.
Starting with got Cosman at 84, and then Frank DeAngelis in that row there in row 6. Row 7, Sean Butler and Lucas Peloso. Row 8, Jonathan Oates and Seth Noel. Row 9, Jackson Carr and Wyatt Tinsley. And then back there in row 10 is Malik Ray and Brandon Hawken.
Looking back in row 11, we have Marcus Ciasco alongside Kevin McAdams. Kwame Scott in row 12 with Brian Mercurio. Michael Guest and Parker Collins start alongside each other in row 13. Matt Spalding and Michael P. Frisch in row 14. Tyler Lannon and Daniel Foggingham will be in the 15th row, Derek.
That's right. We'll move back here to row 16 in just a moment when the graphic updates. All right, you got Robert Dorman, Griffin Jones, Ryan Nawrocki, and Spencer Ray, and then David Cabrera rounds out the last of this field.
35 drivers here tonight. You see pace laps around turn number 2. 43, excuse me. I believe we have a few that haven't grid up, so Michael Cozy should be rounding us out. Anyways, 117 laps here tonight. Going to be a fun one for sure. These next-gen cars on the high banks of Talladega. What more could you really want? So Nate Stewart comes in on the pole. Does not have a win so far in the playoffs. Not a win on the season, actually. Blake Bryant alongside him. That's a fun duo right there. A bunch of guys up front that don't have wins so far this year. So coming through turns 3 and 4.
All right, well, as we come around here, Caleb, one thing's for sure. The guys who are up front now are not guaranteed to be up front at the end of the race. They might not even be guaranteed to be up front 3 laps from now. Let's wait and see what happens.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, we do have stages here in the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series. First stage is going to end lap 30, and in the FTF Cup Series, of course, no cautions. Coming into the Tribal, Pace Truck pulling off. Who's ready for 500 kilometers of Talladega, 117 laps around NASCAR's longest track. We'll see. Green flag's out. Nate Stewart leads us off. Coming around to complete lap number 1, you see Alex Kolnick is actually going to lead that lap, not Nate Stewart. We heard tonight that tandems were going to be the way to go, and you see it right here. That's Alex Kolnick's Tyler Gary. You see another tandem pair pulling out right behind. That's Kyler Wynn, and he's alongside. Whoa, big moves happening on the backstretch.
Yeah, big moves happen on the backstretch, and big moves happening already. We're already 3 wide. We were 3 wide in the first corner, Caleb, and they're excited to move here. Remember, we said the guys who started the race in front may not be there. We're already heading towards that path.
Absolutely. Now, some big names to keep your eye on. You see Tyler Gary has lost that tandem right in front of him. He's sitting in the 3rd position. Michael Guest and Malik Ray now in a tandem draft together, now charging towards the front. Again, talking around that garage, you know, we are running a little cool today at 65 degrees air temp, and you can see it right now. I mean, these cars, once they get together, just like glue.
Yeah, you're gonna take a look here, Caleb, and see on the top side now you got 3 or 4 cars running together, and we're gonna have a new leader come around the front here, and we're gonna have a new leader for the 2nd time as we complete another lap here.
Absolutely, and that's Malik Ray with Michael Guest behind him. Malik Ray will lead that lap. But here comes Dylan Basin out behind him.
Yeah, Malik, of course, is very aware of super speedway racing and high competition, being part of the Coke series, so has a lot of experience here making big moves.
Absolutely, and Malik Ray just not afraid to throw that car anywhere. You saw a big block right there, wasn't afraid. Michael Guest now out front as we're on board Alex Kolnick, as he's getting engulfed by this pack here with no drafting help.
Yeah, we refer to this as the sucker hole, Caleb. It looks really tempting at first, but the moment you get left out, he finally has a Mountain Dew car behind him. What caution's out?
Big crash up ahead. Bunch of leaders involved. Parker White, our winner from last week. Wyatt Tinsley, caution, of course, out. Brandon Hawkins going to get through it. Parker White still spinning in the tribal grass. That's Wyatt Tinsley. Race control Benjamin Easterday hit the button there to put us under our first caution on lap number 5. We'll get a replay here, but that was we knew that was coming. I mean, Malik Ray up there, again, known for aggressive moves, and I wouldn't be surprised if something happened there, because
yeah, we'll wait for our replay here. Is it going to come in? Go ahead, Caleb.
Absolutely. You'll want to watch these two cars on the bottom and see if that had, yeah, absolutely. Right there, Michael Guest and Malik Ray trying to pull that off. Just didn't work out. You see Blake Bryan involved in this crash as well. A bunch of guys up in this lead pack. Most everybody seems to have gotten out without much damage. And you see Parker White still struggling to get the car under control there. Looking at Alex Kolonix here. And you see that crash just happen right ahead of him. And great job by him to get through that.
You know, Caleb, the ironic things, we were just talking about him being caught in the sucker hole and losing all that space. I think that sucker hole saved him from being in this wreck.
For sure. We'll look at it one more time here. You see Guest and Ray just try to go up. Oh,
Now,
that's great avoidance right there. Just going through the heart of the wreck.
I think if we look for Malik Ray's on board, we're going to find out Malik Ray was clear and made the move. I believe Michael Guest, two simple words, not clear.
Now we'll take one final look at it here.
There's Malik.
Malik
Yep.
Ray. Yeah, and that looks like it caused a checkup right there. So good eye, Michael Guest and Malik Ray just on the not so good into that. And that's, you know, you want to be up front at super speedways, but that aggressive driving can cause stuff like that happening for sure.
You know, Caleb, and that's going to bring up a topic we'll talk about throughout this 500K about the mentality of a driver and where do you want to be? Not every driver wants to be up front. The people we don't focus on in the first part of this race are often the people in the back. And it's because there's not a lot going on, but some people want to ride in the back. They want to let the first two wrecks happen and, you know, and not be a part of it. The question I have for you now is after that first wreck, we're only on lap 6, pardon me. Do you think that calms things down or do you think it makes it even worse on the next restart?
That's something to keep an eye out for sure. With all of the, you know, that aggressive driving can lead to these accidents. So it wouldn't shock me if these guys wanted to settle down. But looking now, most everybody, I believe everybody with the exception of Robert Dorman and Jackson Carr came down the pit road that last time. Brian Mercurio and the Xfinity machine cycled out. You see that name in yellow right there indicating that he is a Barr Visuals FTF playoff driver. So a big shakeup already that is taken out. But now Robert Dorman and Jackson Carr, we'll see if how they fare up at the front of the field.
By the way, worth pointing out, Robert Dorman up 31 spots. He gridded for this race in 31st, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, pit strategy already trying to pay off. See Jackson Carr now coming down the pit lane, and I believe he will be the only taker. Looks like a few others will dip with him. Seth Knoll and Michael Cozy Jr., a few key names that are coming down the pit road. Cozy, I believe, did not qualify for this event, so he has the last pit stall. You see his Altus Esports machine pull off the pit lane now. But Robert Dorman will inherit the lead, as I believe we are choosing now. Not sure where our... no choose cone on the super speedways. So the traditional bottom is the leader, excuse me. But now we have Robert Dorman alongside Brian Mercurio. And going to be interested to see how these tandems really affect this restart. I mean, you know, keys to watch out for here. Nate Stewart and Brian Mercurio, that should be a pretty lethal duo. Nate Stewart, Brian Mercurio especially, really good on the super speedways. Cosmin Ionescu, obviously our Daytona 500 champion. So yeah, he knows how to get it done here. And two big retirements here. Phil McCandless and Malik Ray have both packed it up and are going home tonight. Again, two contenders out because of that wreck. Be interesting to see what happens here on this next restart.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if we go back to the tandems or if we're going to be willing to form a line here and kind of find the groove, so to speak, and race calm for a few laps and maybe get through a stage before the temperature picks back up again here.
Yeah, but keep in mind, the stage is only 30 laps. I mean, we have 22 laps to go when we get the green flag here. Not that much time. I mean, with the way these tandems have been forming, you can kind of go back and forth at will, it seems. But the urgency definitely, I feel like, will be picked up, knowing that you only have a few laps, especially for these playoff drivers who are vying for these playoff points to keep with them in the next round. But we will see coming through the tri-oval. Robert Dorman and Brian Mercurio going to lead us off. Pace truck going to dip down onto pit road. And as the Fox crew would say, keep in mind the start finish not in the middle of the tri-oval. You'll see it here. Coming to the green flag, though, you see Alex Kolinick getting bunched up on the back of Robert Dorman. Here we go. Green flag now. Getting up through the gears. Kolinick to the back end of Robert Dorman. You see Stewart and Mercurio grouped up now. Ooh, Robert Dorman going to dip down onto the apron. Alex Kolinick, too big of a push, shuffles him out of line. He's going to have to merge up safely. Going to lose a lot of spots.
And that's going to allow the top line to get some momentum here, Caleb, and really find her spot. I think he just merged back in like 18th, 19th place. That's a lot of spots lost here as we come out of turn 4.
Absolutely. Cosmin Ionescu tried to pull down in front of Alex Kolinick. Not quite it. He's going to stick with Brandon Hawkins, but up the outside, a third line kind of forming now. That's going to be Blake Reynolds and Parker White, who was spun in that last incident. Michael Cozy Jr. behind them, and you see this bottom line now, led by Brian Mercurio and Nate Stewart, really just has all the momentum.
Caution's out again, Caleb. Caution's out again.
And you see caution out once again.
It's going to be in the back of the field somewhere.
Yeah, and believe that might be Wyatt Tinsley. We'll get a replay once again here for you to see what brought out the second caution of the day. That's big, shuffled up again. Here's your replay. Coming through into tri-oval, that was... Oh, bad bump looks like. That's the 054 machine. Going to spin, held the brake.
That might be the safest and cleanest wreck I've seen at Talladega in a long time, Caleb. I mean, obviously he's going to get spun here by a bad bump, but look at this. Spins it down, holds on to it, hits the wall. But, I mean, count the cars who go on by, and even those right there, nothing's involved. That's like finding a unicorn at Talladega.
And that was Landon Mills who made the contact with Parker Collins, who spun in the 054 machine. You see Parker Collins now going to dip onto pit road for service, probably tires after holding it on the apron for that long.
Yeah, and we should mention for those doing the math at home, Caleb, these are 75% fuel tanks. So realistically, only about 30 laps or a little less under green flag is what you can do here on a gas tank. So these guys stopping right now are putting themselves in a spot to be able to maybe stay out at the end of the stage or play with a fuel strategy that could be different than the leaders.
Absolutely. And you see our leaders right here, Brian Mercurio, Nate Stewart, trying to catch back up with the pace truck, which has gotten away from him. You see it there in the tri-oval.
Yeah, that pace truck has no patience. It'll just leave you.
Everybody trying to get grouped back up, and we'll see where things sort themselves out after pit stops. And we will have that for you after we come back from this short message. Welcome back to Talladega, lap 11 of the Kicking the Tires 500K. Brian Mercurio in the number 41 Xfinity Chevrolet is our leader after our second caution. Should be getting the one to go this time by. And Derek, we've gone through 10 laps so far and have already had 2 cautions. You know, if you're in one of these driver's seats, you know, what are you thinking at this point?
Well, I'm going to admit to you as a driver, I'm not an aggressive super speedway driver for the first half of the race. In fact, when we did the last restart, we didn't get to see much of it through the camera, but there was a long line of cars on the bottom line for people who were pitting for repairs. I'd have been okay in the back of that line. I don't need to be up here, man. Most wrecks that happen in a super speedway race, I feel like they happen at the front. Get yourself back there, find yourself 2 or 3 friends, stay in the draft, don't go a lap down. And eventually, when you're ready, work your way up here. Because if we keep up on this pattern of wrecks, one way or another, this race is going to clean itself up, Caleb, either because guys are going to calm down and race a little bit calmer, or there won't be any cars left to wreck at the rate we're going. So I'm okay staying in the back, but I mean, I also understand the philosophy. You know, Steve Letarte said it in the Coke race on Tuesday night, that some drivers they think that being up front is the safest spot. But right now, that's not proving true in this 500K race.
Absolutely, and keep in mind the balance here of wanting to be up front, trying to win, as well as keeping a focus on your championship hopes if you're one of those drivers in yellow on the side. You know, the playoffs, you know, we're smack dab in the middle of them, and if you're one of these guys like Brian Mercurio, Nate Stewart, Nathan Rabideau, Blake Reynolds, etc., you know, you don't want to take yourself out on lap 12. So definitely a very interesting difference here, because you know, you look back at, you know, some of these other playoff drivers who are sitting back in the back of the pack, and like a Ryan Naraki. So something to watch here for sure.
Need something else to watch real quick, because I'll give you the restart here. Watch the outside lane. In the first 2 starts, they've been behind the leader on both starts. I'm going to see if it happens again here. Keep an eye on it.
Absolutely, that we will. Pace truck dips down on the pit road once again. Alex Collins to the back of Nate Stewart. Brian Mercurio, your control car, coming to the Geico restart zone. Right at the end, green flag once again. Brian Mercurio with Nathan Rabideau right behind him. Outside lane tandeming, as you were saying, Derek.
Yeah, they are tandeming, but however, you got to be up there with the leader, guys. You can still tandem and be up there side by side with the leader on his start. I mean, here they come. They're going to tandem on the outside and pass Mercurio on by, it looks like. But you still need to be up there with the leader. That's going to be a problem later in the race when we're getting down to the final restarts. That can cost you a spot. Look at this train on the outside, though. That's 2, 3, almost 4 cars clear on Mercurio as we come into turn number 3.
Yeah, the outside is where the momentum is, especially trying to get up through the gears like this. Brian Mercurio now slots his way into the 4th position. Now you see Cosmin Ionescu dips out to the outside. He's right alongside Alex Collins, waiting for that bump from Ethan Quarter behind him.
Look at all the space Cosmin lost in that choice, though. He'll make it back up eventually, but it's hard to keep you know, we'll see a lot of drivers who dip out and dip back down because they get scared about what they lose when they make that move. And look, you got a 3rd lane for me here in the back of the field already.
That infamous pack starting to roll. Cosmin Ionescu on the outside. He's got to run with Ethan Quarter. Those two once again find themselves in tandem formation. Side by side for the lead through turns 3 and 4 at Talladega. And look at this pack, 3x3x3 to the line. Reminiscent of 2011 Cup Series finish. Michael Guest with Sean Butler. Michael Guest, again, was up here earlier with Malik Ray and was debatably might have been the cause of that yellow earlier. And now he and Sean Butler once again getting squirrely. Here comes Dylan Basin, going to make it 3 wide for the lead. Tyler Gary to the back bumper. Sean Butler with a huge push. Matt Spalding has found himself in the top 3. Kyler Wynn. And Derek, that's something you got to keep an eye on here. One bad bump and it feels like you can take out 10, 15, even sometimes 20 cars here at Talladega.
One bad bump not only does that, but it makes you nervous for the rest of the bumps, Caleb. It'll make you be a little more skeptical about letting certain people bump you. You're going to find out throughout the race that certain drivers will not line up with people as we get to move to the bottom here, so that they don't get bumped by them, because they don't trust them. They don't trust the line they're holding. They don't like their skill. It's picky who you let bump at a super speedway race here.
That was Tyler Gary with that big block to the inside. You see one car on the apron. Back behind, that is Ethan Quarter, who was in 10th coming into this lap. 4 wide behind him, Brian Mercury on the outside. Blake Bryan and Brandon Hawken both kind of shuffled out. They'll slot themselves back in line. And now you see up top, Tyler Gary leads a pack of cars. Now Matt Spalding going to dip to the inside. Sean Butler going to go with him. Kevin King going to think about it. He sticks on the high side. Michael Guest as well. And now those two are going to find themselves in a rather precarious situation. They have a bump coming maybe from Dylan Basin if he decides to stick on the bottom with him. But with the amount of momentum he has, he might choose to go to the middle. And you see, going to think about it, sticks on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, this is a simple math problem. The bottom is the faster way around. So in theory, people want to stay there because they think it is the faster way around, and it is.
Oh,
the
Matt
top...
Spalding, big bump. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. That's a big bump.
Yeah, Matt Spalding going to get on the apron. He'll slot himself back in line, but Dylan Basin, that almost went squirrely, and that's 3 or 4 times on the backstretch here. Something to watch out for sure is these guys are just so aggressive with these bumps so early on, lap 17. Oh, another one, Sean Butler to the outside. Taylor Gary as well. 3 wide for the lead for a moment, but Sean Butler going to come out on top there.
Not only are the bumps aggressive, Caleb, look at all the moves. No one's sticking with anyone. There's no teammates right now. There's no partnerships. It's whatever will suit you in the moment. As a driver, though, you kind of make a mental list of that, and you begin to remember who left you out to dry, who didn't work with you, who did work with you. And 80 laps from now, that can be useful information you're using when determining how you get back to the front for the end of the race. Look at this bump here.
You see, that's on board Dylan Basin. He's got Parker White leading him through the middle. And yeah, as you were alluding to earlier, I mean, this inside is the shorter way around the track, but you keep your momentum up on the outside, and that's why so many times at Talladega you're going to see that freight train start on the high side, because that's where your momentum is up the most, and that's where you're going to be fastest.
Yeah, and and some drivers also prefer the bottom line, Caleb, because you like to think that if a wreck happens, you have a whole, area to your left to get down there off the track and avoid it. If a wreck happens and you're up against the wall, you're just hoping that the wreck doesn't come up against the wall.
And that was a big move from Sean Butler to go from that 3rd lane all the way to the bottom, cut off the momentum of that Dylan Basin, Alex Kolnick's tandem right there. You'll see him do it once again. He's going to throw a big block down to the inside, and Dylan Basin has to make evasive maneuvers for just a second. Gonna get out of that okay, but you see that pack in full song going around Talladega Super Speedway now. Tyler Gary trying to bump Sean Butler. Not going to be enough, though. I think Dylan Basin will lead lap 20 here at Talladega.
Taking a look at scoring, Butler did lead that lap, but you're right, it is getting crazy here. And there's only so many times that Butler can make that move, by the way, before one of those lines doesn't let him back in. And I'm glad to see that maybe that's stopping for the moment.
Oh, Sean Butler, they're 4 wide. Alex Kolnick's getting shuffled out of this pack. They're going to find their way through it once again. Gotta wonder how many more times they can end up doing that. But Sean Butler just so aggressive right now, trying to stay up at the front. Kyler Wynn going to fall behind him. Tyler Gary's been such a good pusher so far, and now he's on the back end of Dylan Basin, who will lead another lap here at Talladega.
I'll tell you, Caleb, one of the things that helps the 3-wide racing at Talladega is there are painted lines. You don't have to observe them, but it's definitely a good visual marker for each driver. For the most part, if you stay in your lane, then the 3-wide racing can happen just fine. It's when drivers begin to dip those tires into either side of the white lane that's not theirs, that's when it gets super hairy. So it's always a good, helpful aid here at Talladega.
Kyler Wynn now dipping out of line. He's going to leave Sean Butler. Dylan Basin going to suck to the back of that 82 car. And slot the number 82 of Kyler Wynn to the front now. So you see this pack starting to die out just a little bit, trying to find their way back into lines, finding a double file formation around the track, not so much this 3 wide that we've been seeing so much of.
These guys do know this is a 500K, right? Like someone told them this isn't like 100K. This is 500. Someone told them, right? Because oh my gosh, it's been busy. Now look at you said here. Look at that middle line in the middle there, falling back very quickly because there's just no help there anymore. We've moved at least for now to a 2-line system, and basically a 1-line system. I think I count 4 cars on the bottom currently.
Yeah, now that bottom lane of Sean Butler, Parker White just left the inside lane of Alex Kolinix, and they went to join that outside formation. It's interesting to see as we're coming to the end of the stage, it feels like all of our playoff drivers have gone to the back. Nathan Rabideau and Brian Mercurio are your first playoff drivers that you'll see, and they're back all the way. You'll find them in 10th.
Well, it's an interesting topic, of what's more important, a stage point or a couple stage points or your race end points. And you got to sometimes, figure you can only get one or the other. You don't always want to be greedy for both. And to me, race end points are more important. Look at this push here. Butler again, going to go to the front here, Caleb.
Alex Kolinix, another, so far has proved his worth as a pusher so far today.
Oh.
Sean Butler going to go up and block that line of Parker White, trying to pull the Dale Jr. Pied Piper, trying to command both of these lines, and that's something that's so hard to do. I mean, it just requires constant mirror driving, especially if you're Sean Butler, you don't have a live spotter. You just got to rely on what your eyes are telling you. Kyler Wynn dipping out of line. You see Sean Butler once again throwing big blocks on him, trying to stay up front here, desperately wanting that stage win.
I wasn't so sure that last move by Butler to the top. I don't know if that was on purpose or if the push from Kolinix got him loose and up the track was his only path. I'm not sure, because that was I don't know. That kind of sketch going up the hill there.
Dylan Basin and Kyler Wynn with a surge of momentum out of turn number 4. Let's see if those two can clear the Butler and White machines. Kyler Wynn will. Butler delivering a big push. And you see, as we're starting to near the stage end, starting to see the aggression come out once again. It subsided for a minute, just for a minute. But now it looks like we're back in full force. See Sean Butler there, just big, meaty moves all over the racetrack.
Oh, man, I thought maybe Wynn missed the memo.
Oh, and Sean Butler just got a big push from Dylan Basin that puts him out of line. He'll try to find a spot. I believe he's going to be able to get in behind Landon Collins. Or Parker Collins, excuse me. But now you see that momentum on those bottom 2 lines has completely died out, and that has put Kevin King and Brian Mercurio, this line, now in possession of the lead.
And just like that, weren't you just saying there were no playoff drivers at the front of the field? Didn't you just say that?
Yeah, well, they proved me wrong quick. Yeah, I like that. Butler has Jarvis as a spotter.
And to note there, by the way, that move where Butler got shuffled out, that put him from basically 1st to 19th because of that move. That's how fast things move here at Talladega, Caleb.
Absolutely, and I mean, you've seen with these playoff drivers. Oh, and we got a
big
red
wreck.
line, a big crash. Blake Bryant once again involved. We got Michael Guest was in it. I think Tyler Gary made it through. Spencer Ray was in it. Frank DeAngelis. And right as we were coming to the stage end, another big wreck. And Blake Bryant has been on the wrong end of these twice now, and that'll bring out our 3rd caution here on lap 27. You see Spencer Ray, the breast cancer awareness machine, making his way to pit road. Big crash. We'll get the replay here for you. You see Spencer Ray out of control through the middle there. Yeah, Blake Bryant just once again. Wrong.
There's Sean Butler involved, I believe, right?
And I'm not sure if that was just a bump from Michael Guest gone wrong, or what had happened there. We'll get another angle. See, once again, Spencer Ray's already out of control right there, but you see, yeah, Michael Gesh just gets misaligned with the back bumper of Blake Bryan, and when you're in the middle of that pack and something like that happens, just nowhere to go. I believe that was Matt Danson who had a great save behind. And Spencer Ray making contact with the inside wall. Tough break for him. Just once again at Talladega, that's just nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go is right. If we can actually get a replay of this, if we can ask our producer to do it, can we get a replay from the bump, from the onboard? I'm going to show the bump here, and two things that happen. I think one, it's not a center bump, and two, it's a different closing speed. I think is what causes this. So if we can get a replay, I'm going to put Zach on the spot here to do it. He probably hates me right now, but we'll do it anyways and see if it comes up. But that's an important thing. I want to talk about bumps throughout the night. As a driver, you have to do it right. You have to line them up. Watch this here. Well, that's pit road.
Yeah, you do see everybody coming on to pit road. Our leaders are making their way off. Everybody came down the pit road for service once again. Robert Dorman cycles out as your leader. Michael Cozy Jr. in the second position. Blake Reynolds, Kyler Wynn, all finding their way off. Brian Mercurio in the seventh position. He lost a few spots.
Yeah, pit stop's still working their way out here. So as you said, this will be the end of the stage. So stage points will lock here, and that'll determine the first stage. It would have ended at 30, but of course we're going to stop it here with the caution out. There's no way we'd get it back green before that stage is over.
Yeah, we'll check that out. We'll see if they if we get the one to go here next time by, which I doubt, but we'll see.
All right, so let's take a look at this replay here. This is going to be the same wreck we were just in. Let's see if we can watch it from the bumping car here. Oh, see, there it is. That's the problem, is when you bump here at Talladega or Daytona, you have to do it square. You cannot be up on the side of someone, or that's what happens. You get into them, you shove them around, and that's what happens there. Now, due to the closing speed was pretty close, actually. I thought there was a bigger gap between them. Let's see if we can find it one more time here.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, with the next-gen cars, you know, this isn't exactly, you know, we'll see it once again. Yeah, I mean, but the closing speed on these cars with that rear spoiler, I mean, it is a sizable amount of momentums, and that's what makes these tandems possible that we've seen so far today.
Watch this from Cozy? Danson, sorry. It's one of the Logitech G Altus machines here. Watch him. He's going to come through the wreck here, I believe. Smoke.
Yeah, he gets spun and then uses that apron.
Oh, man.
Great wreck avoidance.
That's something you can't plan for, right? I mean, there's no way. You just... Whew, that's a save of the night, maybe, right there.
Once again, you see pit road playing itself out. Lap 29. We are going to get the one to go, so we will be able to finish this stage under green. Dorman, Cozy. I mean, we have quite a few playoff drivers up here that are in the thick of it. And that's where things are really going to get interesting. And once again, there are no cautions at the end of this stage. But Michael Cozy Jr., Blake Reynolds, Brian Mercurio, Nathan Rabideau, guys that are all in the playoffs that are in the hunt for this stage win. And, you know, Derek, if you're a guy like Nathan Rabideau, say third car Highline, and you find yourself in this situation, you know, how aggressive are you going to be for this stage win, especially when you have playoff competitors right in front of you that are in the thick of it as well?
Well, it also depends where you are in the playoff standings. So let's take a look real quick here and pull up the playoff standings. And that will also determine, like, how, you know, how many points do you need? How aggressive do you want to be? I was trying to find the cup standings here. But that'll help determine if I'm like, you know, here we go. Thank you, Zach. If I'm back in 12th, which I'm not, Rabideau's in 8th. He's the last car in currently. He needs to make a move. If I were Mercurio, if I were Kevin King, if I were Blake Reynolds, I'm not as aggressive. So that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. And yeah, Nathan Rabideau, last car in right now, as you saw on the graphics there. So I would expect a fair amount of aggression from him, especially more than the car to his inside, Brian Mercurio, who coming into tonight is our points leader. Once again, all playoff drivers without a win so far. Kind of similar to the actual NASCAR Cup Series, which is funny turn of events this year, but alas, pace car once again coming off the pit lane.
Look at, because of all the people who pitted 1 to go. Look at the bottom lane and how big it is.
And we'll see that right here. Coming to you live, you'll be able to watch all of everyone's different cameras. First car participating in that, Alex Kolonix. We'll see that green flag.
Oh, Cozy back in line already. That was I wasn't sure what he's doing there, but he squeezed himself in and has abandoned that top line pretty quickly here.
And you see everybody right now just laser focused, trying to figure out how to make moves here. Down the backstretch, coming to the end of this stage, will we see a move from Michael Cozy Jr., Blake Reynolds, or Brian Mercurio? Those 3 playoff drivers. Blake Reynolds, he's going to peek out. Not quite. Michael Cozy Jr. trying to time this move perfectly. You don't want to make it too early here at Talladega. Blake Reynolds. He's going to have Brian Mercurio behind him. Will it be enough? Don't think so. Robert Dorman maybe wins the stage. Blake Reynolds with a huge surge, but I believe it was Robert Dorman.
Yeah, quickly here. Dorman, Reynolds, Cozy, Mercurio, and Parker White. Sorry. Dorman, Reynolds, Cozy, Mercurio, and Parker White. Yeah, top 5 for that stage.
And you see your stage results there. You're watching the Kick in the Tires 500K lap 31, now in stage 2. We'll come back to you after this.
He is.
Welcome back to Talladega, the Kick in the Tires 500K. We are in 3 wide formation. Nathan Rabideau on the leader of that bottom line, having some connection issues. Looks like the pack trying to shuffle him out now, as he's getting commanded to go to the back of the pack by race control, who has had enough of his shenanigans. We were 3 wide, but now that has cycled the momentum. Alex Kolonix will now find himself in the lead on the high side. And you hear Justin over the radio just talking about how terrifying that was as somebody on the bottom That's always fun.
Yeah, that's the scariest part of Talladega is people with connection problems or people who have a problem like that, because it's unpredictable and you're trying to get around them and you're trying to communicate with them, but they probably can't hear you. Oh, you can't make that move. Not clear.
Almost calamity there. Alex Kolonix, Blake Reynolds, Michael Cozy Jr. find themselves in the top lane, top 3 now. Ryan Naraki, a really aggressive move to go down to the inside, and that's another thing too. You gotta be, really conserving with your momentum. I mean, you saw Ryan Naraki there. He had such a huge run and now has, gotten to the back of Dylan Basin to the back of Naraki, and now they're making a charge for the lead here on Alex Kolonix.
Yeah, they are making a charge here. I mean, right now the number of cars in each line, based upon just a visual check, is about even as we're going to get a move there. So these lines now will start to move at about the same rate, give or take a push here or there. You got one car stuck in the middle here, 2 cars stuck in the middle now.
Yeah, that was Landon Mills. And now Brian Mercurio and Daniel Falkingham are making a move on Blake Reynolds and Ryan Naraki now.
And this is that moment where you can see that drivers are preferring the top lane, Caleb, because most drivers would take this opportunity and clear low, as you just saw happen there. That's going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 cars moving down to pull up that bottom lane. But to me, when you're clear, I like to get to the bottom, ride the bottom. But no, they're going to stay up top. That's how you know that's where they're happiest, because they missed an opportunity to move down very safely as they wanted to, as Cozy's now going to move the bottom.
Yeah, Cozy, Cosman, Frisch. 3 drivers who bailed on the top line to try to lead a charge on the inside. Dylan Basin now going to bail on that outside line. And he's going to join Cozy on the bottom. Oh, and Cosman just got shuffled out of line. And now you'll see he tries to find his way down to the inside once again. Almost gets a spot in front of Blake Reynolds. 4 wide now. But everybody will figure their stuff out. Almost a bad push from Seth Knoll to Landon Mills, but they keep it straight. And we're good. Dylan Basin, Michael Cozy Jr., Michael P. Frisch, Brian Mercurio, Daniel Falkingham, your top 5 after 39 laps here at Talladega.
What I'm finding interesting here, Caleb, is that they've kind of resigned to not using the middle lane for now. Like, when people get stuck in the middle now, they're quickly ready to move out to the inside or outside. Oh, I said that, and no, never mind.
You see it right there. Oh, and Alex Kolonix to the inside. Michael P. Frisch going as well. Rumbling through the tri-oval. Going to be side by side. Pete Frisch gets that lap lead. Another playoff driver desperately wanting to be up front right here. Keep in mind, we're almost to the end of the second stage. About halfway there.
Yeah, the next stage ends at lap 60. Oh, got moved to the bottom here. And that's going to move him to the back of the field now. Probably just a little bit of a bump that made him squirrely. And he's going to back out of it. That'll put him from first to about 15th or so when we get here.
And at Talladega, these things absolutely happen. I mean, bad bumps all the time. Good move by P. Frisch there.
See, look at this here real quick. When I talked about the bump earlier, we talked about, look at how Cozy's stuck basically in the middle of that bumper. Not moving around too much, although he is in the tri-oval, it's harder to do. But that's a good bump right in the middle. You're not turning the guy. You're square up on him. And that'll create more speed.
And you see Cozy and Kolonix, a little bit of miscommunication there, and that has just taken all of their momentum now. And you see Daniel Falkingham, Robert Dorman, who won our first stage, now back in the thick of it. As this pack rumbles its way down the backstretch.
And I was about to say, for the first time tonight, Caleb, hold on, up top issues. Oh, man. I was going to say for the first time tonight, the inside line looked dominant, but then everyone bailed to the top, and, well, never mind.
A pretty even fight between the top and bottom lines now. Seth Knoll, Alex Kolonix on the outside, Michael Cozy Jr. and Robert Dorman on the inside. Kolonix leads that lap, and he has Seth Knoll just in the back of that race car. And it's really been interesting to see that these tandems have started to die down, and we kind of start to see more of that traditional inline formation, you know, the traditional pack where we have the 3x3x3x3, as you see. Now Tyler landing to the inside of Seth Knoll, and that entire top line going to go with him now.
Well, something to consider here that may be playing a factor or may not, depending upon each person's strategy. If you want to make it to the next stage and under green and get those stage points, it's going to be a really tight fuel load to get there. For people when the last caution was, there's Cozy and someone else all the way to the bottom. Are they pitting?
Yeah, they are pitting. That's Robert Dorman, as we almost have trouble in the tri-oval, as the lap car of Tyler Gary caused some issues for Seth Knoll and Brandon Hawken. We keep it green. But yes, Michael Cozy Jr., Robert Dorman pitting, and they might be trying to split this stage in half.
Yeah, that's a risky move. It'll work if the caution comes out, but if it doesn't, they're going to be, especially for Cozy, who's a playoff driver, that's a big risk there. But I was going to say, if you want to make it on gas to the end of the stage here from our last caution, even the guys who pit with 1 to go, you need to stay in line, maybe be at like 75% throttle and save some gas here, or you're going to end up pitting with 1 to go for the stage probably.
And interesting here, these guys are in single file formation. It makes me think that we're going to start to see a few more guys find their way down to the pit lane here soon. I mean, you see right now, we were in a big pack formation a few laps ago, and now all of a sudden we find ourselves single file, and the first car side by side you'll see is for the 7th position. That's Seth Knoll and Cosmin Ionescu.
Yeah, you're going to see them single file, so either they're planning their pit stops or they've decided to play it safe here and save some fuel. I'm not sure which. I would think that I don't see the benefit in splitting the stage unless a caution comes out. So that would not be my preferred method unless my group decided and I didn't get a vote, basically.
Well, what's interesting too is Cozy and Dorman were the only two that pitted. They find themselves with Griffin Jones, and that's about it. These 3 cars are just off on an island by themselves. The first car is damaged, and Spencer Ray up ahead of him. But Cozy finds himself in 34th with Robert Dorman. And these are 2 fast race cars, so you know maybe they think by splitting the stage here it gives them a better overall chance. Come race end. Maybe they are anticipating a caution. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a curious move. I mean, I was trying to do the math in my head, and it's not even like they're planning for the end of the race, because they're going to be about 7 laps short for the end of the race if they stay on pit cycles. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here.
Interesting for sure. Now, Brian Mercurio, Parker White did have possession of the lead. Now, Dylan Basin and Alex Kolonix going to challenge that as they try to maneuver around the lap car of Chris Wetz. You saw Kevin King off pace there. No caution, however. Tyler Lannon with a big run. Wow, Dylan Basin trying to maneuver between Alex Kolonix and Tyler Lannon. Can't do that when you want to stay up front. Brian Mercurio, Parker White, Daniel Fogingham, and Ryan Rocky going to rock it off on the high side there.
Yeah, earlier in the broadcast, you made a mention, I think, to the 2011 Talladega race. That's what this feels like right now, Caleb. Back to the old tandem drafting and people just moving at will. People are grouping up, people are finding friends, and we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, keep in mind with these new next-gen race cars, this is only the 2nd time that they've been at Talladega this year for the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series. So trying to figure out everybody's preferences, that's one big thing to watch. You know, you're constantly trying to figure out, you know, who you're going to want to be with towards the end of the stage, end of the race. See Tyler Lannon, big run. Going to try to make a run for the lead here.
Yeah, and something to process here. Now we're seeing a bigger line on the bottom, by the way. That will be your big hint if people are going to start pitting for the most part. It is highly unsafe, to say the least, to try to pit from the top lane. If you want to pit, you want to spend a lot.
Trouble. We have one car almost just went around. My goodness, big save from Tyler Lannon. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're okay.
Big trouble. Tyler Lannon, what a save. He's going to fall back in line, going to lose about 10, 15 spots. Wyatt Tinsley and David Cabrera now find their way around him. And he was one of those ones that was making big, aggressive moves. So, you know, nothing stopped them from being aggressive so far. I don't see why that would start it, but something to keep an eye on for sure is now Alex Kolnick and Seth Knoll with Brandon Hawken all trying to find their way around.
Yeah, so just to finish that thought real quick here, if you want to pit, you need to do it from the bottom lane so you can get yourself pulled down and woed up and everything correctly. If you try to do it from the top lane, it's almost impossible to do without causing a wreck. So if we start to see a bigger line form on the bottom, that'll probably be the hint that they're going to pit here. That'll probably be our first big visual clue, I would think.
Really impressed from these guys. Whoa, was just about to comment on the green flag run, but Seth Knoll found himself in the wall. Lucky that we didn't see our fourth caution of the day, and we have more contact. Ryan Naraki just went around off the nose of Alex Kolnick. He's in his... It's Cosmin Ionescu, his teammate right there, and that will bring out our fourth caution.
Well, and now Cozy has paid off from that pit stop earlier.
So now the majority of the field will probably need to pit there. You see Michael Cozy Jr. gonna benefit from that risky move earlier, but it pays off. Ryan Naraki, you'll see it on the replay, just goes around off the nose of Alex Kolnick. We saw it. It caused that first incident. Seth Knoll gets in the wall right there. And you see just bad bump, not square, as you were talking about earlier for Ryan Naraki, and nowhere to go for Cosmin Ionescu.
Yeah, and in this case, I think it's more of a bump. It is not square. You are correct in that, Caleb. But it's also an issue of, I think he was just swiping it left and right on the bump too, and just kind of eventually swayed it too hard, I think, and got him loose. Let's see the replay here. I mean, because that wasn't horribly off center for a bump, honestly. So I think it was just the swiping left and right. If we can see it maybe from Alex's bumper in one of the replays.
Yeah, Speed Inc. on Speed Inc. violence right there. Alex Kolnick. You see,
Yep, look at that.
just a bad bump, and it goes around into Cosmin Ionescu. Just nothing he can do.
Just swiping that bumper left and right creates that little bit of movement, and eventually just wobbles you back and forth like a bad pirate ship, and that's what happens. Cosmin's going to lead him down the pit road here.
Like a pirate ship, eh? You see now, everybody going to come down. We did have a few cars stay out, namely Brandon Hawken. I believe that should be everybody. John Butler taking the wave around. Should be 4 tires and fuel for everybody, I think.
Right, you see him off pit road here. So we'll wait and see where everyone cycles out here.
Yeah, and we will go to our resident mathematician for that one. But we were talking about, you know, how the fuel cycle was going to end up. Now, if you're pitting right now, you know, where does that put you come the end of the race? Put you on the spot real fast.
Like that, I've got a new title here. So if we do about 30 laps per fuel tank here, so 49 plus 30 is 79, plus 30 is 109. So assuming no more cautions, you're still going to make a short pit stop here. But what it does here for Brandon Hawken, you know, assuming we stay green, which we hope for, but at the rate of the craziness of this race, it's hard to believe. What you're looking at now is a difference of how long that last stop is. And especially at Talladega, where you need to be in a draft, you know, just guesstimating, those guys are going to take 3-4 seconds of gas who have just pitted right now. Brandon Hawken would have to take, let's say, 6, 7, maybe 8 seconds of gas. That'll be a big difference here. He won't come out in a draft, or not the draft he wants to come out in. And that could be a game changer.
For the 22.
We saw that crazy wreck from your angle just a second ago. Justin, find yourself in the 5th position. How was that last wreck from your view?
Yeah, it was pretty devastating to see my 2 teammates got taken out by that. But yeah, we're surviving. It looks like we're going to be restarting 3rd here. I got to do some race control, though, to make sure that the 22 gets in the right spot. So appreciate you guys talking to me.
We will let you go. Thank you for your time, Justin. Obviously, he's busy figuring out the order to get us back under the restart here. Should be coming to 1 to go, barring anything here. Alex Kolnick was just given a EOL penalty for his involvement in the last incident. So we'll try to figure that out. 1 to green. And as Justin said, he will be starting from the 3rd position with Brian Mercurio and Parker White ahead of him.
You know, that's something interesting you always love to talk to drivers about. Oh, okay.
That was almost big from Tyler Gary, and it's Alex Kolnick taking his EOL.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't think that was coming. I was going to say, something fun to talk to the drivers about for a super speed race is, where do you want to start on a restart? Obviously, the answer for some is the leader. For some, it's 3rd place. I think the worst, and this is my opinion, and maybe Caleb, you have an opinion, or others would have an opinion. The worst starting spot is outside P2. It's a hard thing to do in iRacing. It's hard to see the driver to your left. It's hard to predict that jump without getting black flagged. So if I was Justin, I'd be thrilled to be starting in P3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, Brian Mercurio for sure. We've seen it on these last few starts where that outside line just seems to get going. Where it's always the opposite, where that control car just rockets off. But here at Talladega, where momentum is so big, you're going to see this outside line. Once they get formed up, that's Kwame Scott behind Brian Mercurio. If they get formed up correctly, they can get 3 or 4 cars to clear the leader on the restart. Wanted to note one thing that I did notice was our theory about Michael Cozy Jr. and Robert Dorman. Both of them pit under this last cycle. So Cozy finds himself in 22nd. Dorman finds himself in 24th. So just kind of an interesting move. Maybe if they end up in the top 3, we can ask them about that later. But just kind of a head scratcher, I guess, on why you would have pit in the middle of that stage.
Yeah, I agree.
But alas, time to get going once again. We've had our break from the fun. Time to get right back into it. Parker White, Brian Mercurio, your front row. Justin Malillo, Kwame Scott, and David Cabrera round out the top 5 behind him as we get going on the half-century mark here at Talladega in the Kicking the Tires 500K. Coming to the green flag. Malillo bunches up to the back. Bad start for Kwame Scott. Don't know if he missed getting up through a gear. But Brian Mercurio now with no help on the outside. Even so, seems to be holding his own. Justin Malillo to the back of Parker White. And here comes that outside with Landon Mills pushing Kwame Scott.
That restart made me think that maybe Kwame was in the wrong gear. I don't know if he missed a gear. I think maybe he started in 3rd or 4th. That's typically the gears you use under caution to save some fuel. I bet he forgot to get it back down to 2nd.
See now starting to navigate through traffic is Michael Cozy Jr. He's to the back of the Jackson car machine. And that outside line fully formed up. Inside didn't get going as well as I thought they would. You see there's a gap behind Justin Malillo to David Cabrera, and even more of a gap behind to Jonathan Oates. So that top line is much more organized, and it is paying dividends as Brian Mercurio, the leader of that line, leads that lap.
Well, earlier we said we thought they were okay being 2 wide for a while. That's over. We're back to 3 wide racing. They're gonna 3 wide race at probably all the way to the stage end at the end of 60 for those stage points. Of course, we got 1, 2, 3 playoff drivers in the top 10 looking for stage points currently.
And a lot can change here in 8, 9 laps at Talladega. Interested to see that bottom line really just seemed to die out. And now the former middle line in Jackson Carr and Michael Cozy Jr. I mean, it's hard to not go forwards when you got Michael Cozy Jr. on the back bumper of you.
Yeah, and I want to say for now, at least for the first time tonight, the leader is happy being the leader. Oh, never mind, he moved down. I was going to say the leader's happy leading a lane, but they're still trying to do this whole, as you referred to it, the Dale Jr. move of leading every lane and watching people move back and forth. That can end very poorly if you're not careful with it.
Once again, Brian Mercurio, one of FTF's best plate racers. He definitely knows how to get it done. You see now the inside line of Jackson Carr, Michael Cozy Jr. going to challenge Brian Mercurio here through the tri-oval. Such a fun battle, that momentum versus the shorter way around the track. This time, the inside line, Jackson Carr leads that lap.
I believe that to be the first lap led tonight for Jackson Carr. Going to do it here at the end of 53, coming to 54.
Oh, and Parker White tried to dip out of line. Didn't work. He tried to clear himself on Brian Mercurio, and now he will find himself in the middle. Matt Spalding, who bailed out of that top line just a few laps ago.
There's Michael Cozy back to the front, almost back up P2.
And a few new faces up here. Lucas Plessel has found his way into the top 3, top 5 for the first time tonight. And you see how aggressive these guys are getting coming to the end of this stage. Brian Mercurio doesn't give the bump to Ryan Naraki. Goes back out to the high lane, which is where the dominant line was only a few laps ago. He's got Landon Mills to the back of him, Blake Reynolds, Robert Dorman. There's some fast cars in that bunch. It's just a question of if they can get back up there. You see behind right now Jackson Carr, Michael Cozy Jr., that 3x3x3 formation, which will now find its way all the way up for the lead. Brian Mercurio going to try to get back down in front of Ryan Naraki, stacks up that middle lane. That's going to push back guys like Kyler Wynn, Matt Spalding, really kill that middle line's momentum. Landon Mills, Jackson Carr, Brian Mercurio, 3 wide for the lead through the tri-oval of Talladega.
Well, things have not calmed down. That's easy to say. Let's see who leads it here. It's going to be the outside to lead it. That's going to be Landon Mills coming around to.
Yeah, Blake Reynolds bails on that Landon Mills machine. Now Brian Mercurio and the middle line have the momentum. And this is why you come to Talladega. This 3x3 trademark patent pending pack racing formation. I mean, just absolute quintessential plate racing right here, right now.
It really is. We're going to see another move here. No, they're not clear. You got to stay in the middle. That's going to put
Robert
Dorman down in the middle.
Yeah, Robert Dorman down to the nose of Blake Reynolds. Those two find themselves in tandem now.
Blake, of course, well known within the FTF community, well known, of course, also in the eNASCAR community, has driven a couple iconic car numbers, including the 3 at one point. So Blake is no history to pressure, so he'll do well up here at Talladega.
4 to go in the stage. Really interesting. After Robert Dorman made that move, I mean, that pack just died out. I mean, you can't really see it from here, but the top line has completely subsided, and the middle line as well. It only consists of Ryan Naraki and Parker White. Everybody else has gravitated towards the bottom. Guys like Brian Mercurio, who were out front in the middle and top lanes earlier.
Yeah, it's just going to take 1 or 2 cars to move back up, though, with the way they're racing it here. And you're going to find that line moving again. But like, there's Cosman, I believe, what we're looking at.
That's Seth Knoll right there. Back up at the front, though, Ryan Naraki has found his way with Parker White up front. Matt Spalding made his move as well to the outside. Now the middle line with Blake Reynolds, Brandon Hawkin, Daniel Falkingham trying to make a run for the lead now. Robert Dorman on the inside. Can he go 2 for 2 on the day with Jackson Carr behind him? Brian Mercurio and Michael Cozy all in line. That's not a bad group of names to have behind you. Cozy going to dip up into the middle line. Dorman all over the apron. You see 3, 4 wide behind him. Just no room for error right now between guys like Landon Mills, Matt Danson, Kwame Scott, Justin Malillo. They get it sorted out. 4 wide once again up ahead of them, though. They're going to figure it out maybe. But now the inside line, this front group of about 5 cars, I believe, Blake Reynolds, Hawkin, Dorman, Carr, Cozy, they've all allowed themselves to pull away because they've just been sitting there. Now these guys got some catching up to do.
Yeah, the less you move around and the more you stay in a draft, you're going to go faster. So all that fighting back there that we just saw, that's what Blake Reynolds and Hawkin and Cozy want to see. They'd love to see all that fighting happening back there and keep this pack separated a little bit as we're going to come around here to the start of 60.
Big moves being made. Kyler Wynn going to almost think about being 4 wide, but now we are 3 by 3 by 3 coming to the white flag in stage number 2. Daniel Falkingham, your leader. We'll see if it stays that way one more time around Talladega in stage number 2. Kyler Wynn dips down to the inside of Daniel Falkingham. Now he's going to find himself with Blake Reynolds and Brandon Hawken behind. Not so much there right now. Jackson Card, Michael Cozy Jr., Kyler Wynn just going to kill their momentum through the middle. Now that top line is moving. Landon Mills, Parker White wants to watch out for. Mills and White going down to the inside. Mercurio in the middle. Tinsley and Falkingham trying to make something happen out of turn number 4. Seth Knoll as well. Can he make something happen? No contact with Wyatt Tinsley. Wyatt Tinsley will spin in the front of the field. Caution is out, and I believe it was Landon Mills out front to end the stage.
Yeah, we're going to wait to see what the moment of caution was for the scoring on that stage. I believe the only playoff driver in the top 5 might have been Mercurio, but I'm not sure when the caution came out if he was there or not.
But my goodness, what a finish nonetheless to that stage. And we'll get a replay here for you. I mean, we knew it was coming. Wyatt Tinsley, just a bad block with Seth Knoll right there. Really lucky that everybody made it through that. A good call, I think, to call the caution there with a car spinning out in front of the field, especially coming to the finish. There's no lifting. You're trying to get all those points. See it once again, just Tinsley up in front of Seth Knoll. He's trying in his own right to get this. We'll try to see when the caution came out, because Parker White made a move on Landon Mills, but I believe by the time the caution came out, that run wasn't quite there, and Landon Mills will be credited. We'll try to figure out what the top 10 finishing order was. Going on board with right there. That's when the caution comes out. So you see Landon Mills out front. Believe that'll be Parker White, Kyler Wynn, Daniel Falkingham, and Brian Mercurio as your top 5. Brian Mercurio, obviously the lone playoff driver in that group. Blake Reynolds was right there. A good run for these guys nonetheless, accruing some stage points. We'll go back down to pit road. You see it's a busy place, Derek.
It is a busy place. I was kind of monitoring the pit stop times. Everyone here is 4 tires and gas as far as I could tell. No short pit stops. I was kind of curious if someone might try to short pit it, seeing as how we just did this maybe 10 laps ago. So from here, because you're going to ask the question, by the way, I'm going to get ahead of you. So you're looking at 92, 112. You're still 5 laps short. That means that these guys might pit at 1 to go, and then we'll start saving gas in the draft if they want to make it. And maybe cut a splash and go off the end of this run.
Absolutely. You see Robert Dorman once again going to be the winner of your race off pit road, our stage 1 winner.
And
I believe Robert Dorman, he might have just.
I think he missed his box.
Might have missed his box. All right.
Because I have a pit line time, or pit lane time, pardon me. That's easy to say for Dorman. I do not have a box time for Dorman, so I'm thinking maybe he missed his box and is going to come in. I guess we'll find out in a moment here.
We will figure out all of that coming up right here. The kick in the tires 500K in the final stage, lap 62. As of right now, Robert Dorman, your leader. We'll see you after these messages. Welcome back to Talladega, lap 63, the Kicking the Tires 500K. As of right now, Michael Cozy Jr. and Blake Reynolds are our front row coming to the green flag. Want to give a quick shout out to our very own Jacob Hitz, who has found himself with an Emmy Award tonight. His university won the sports Emmy, I believe, the live sports Emmy to Shippensburg University. So congratulations to Jacob. If yeah, there you go. There's the picture of Jacob holding the Emmy. So much love to Jacob, our usual lead over here on FTF.gg. Missing you tonight, but it's for a good cause.
Yeah, I've had a chance to work with Jacob on other projects. He's a class guy, really fun to work with. So good job, Jacob. Proud of you.
Absolutely. But getting back to it, Michael Cozy Jr., Blake Reynolds going to lead us off to the green flag. Cozy shot out from his Altus Esports teammate Matt Danson right behind him. Kind of a curious thing to see on that restart there. Now you see Blake Reynolds with the run on the outside. Thought the Altus Esports guys would be a little more organized on that.
You would think so. I was about to ask you if you think that maybe this could be our first, obvious teammate tandem drafting situation, but no, not right now.
Blake Reynolds blocking up to the wall. Everybody scrambling, trying to make it up there. From the middle to the high side, Blake Bryant will find himself leading the inside lane. Now you see that's Sean Butler, who we saw with a bunch of aggressive moves earlier. Now he's right back up in the thick of it. Found himself a lap down earlier, but he's made it back up here.
Hey, the scary thing going on in that front pack there, Caleb, the top here, is what we call pushing the pusher. That was really close here. Who is that up in? That's in front of Butler. Is that going to be Mills? Came really close to pushing the pusher, and that's a scary thing to do in a super speedway. Maybe we can talk about that later if or when this calms down a little bit.
Sean Butler, big block, and that's going to wreck him. Right now, that's Kyler Wynn. Sean Butler made a big block. Matt Danson's in the wall. They're wrecking behind him. And Sean, who had just found himself back up in the lead pack, throws a big block, and it doesn't work out. We'll get a replay there for you, but my goodness, and I don't know how, we only wrecked, I think it was 6 or 7 cars there. I don't know how that was not bigger, because that was right in front of the main pack, and they were all bunched up. We'll get a replay here for you. You see Sean Butler, he's going to be on the inside, coming out of turn number 2. See Kyler Wynn coming with a big run. Kyler is like, no, you are not sticking in front of me, and not sure what happens with Kyler, but he repeatedly just slams into the Sean Butler machine. Matt Danson with nowhere to go. He does a good job keeping it out of the wall for the most part. We'll see it from another angle right here. Sean and Kyler just is having none of it. I mean.
So what I think what happens here, sorry to cut you off, is actually I think, so you see the weird hand movements. I think basically the closing rate from the middle lane to Sean was enough that Kyler got nervous and went to move to his outside here. Watch it again here. Sean's going to move up. Kyler's going to get nervous about the closing rate, moves up with him, and eventually just runs out of space here.
Yeah, and Race Control called that wreck on Kyler Wynn, and I agree with that assessment really, because Sean, he's there, he's clear. Kyler Wynn just doesn't want to give up the momentum and push Sean Butler, and goes 3 wide, and then hooks Sean Butler in the right rear.
Well, it's hard.
Incident, so
it's hard to give up that momentum though, because what happens is if you give up that momentum, then whoever was behind Kyler Wynn in line in that moment here is going to push Kyler Wynn, and it becomes a scary moment. Here's pit stops, by the way. This would make it closer to being a one-stop race.
See everybody coming down for service once again. Race off pit road. We had 2 stay out in Parker Collins and Seth Noel, who will find themselves in the 1st and 2nd position. Daniel Falkingham, Landon Mills, Blake Reynolds, Dylan Basin, familiar 4, find themselves first 4 off the race on pit road. Past the halfway point here at Talladega with just about 50 laps to go. But yeah, going back to that incident real fast, I don't don't know if you make that, if it's 5 to go, I completely understand not wanting to give up that momentum. I'm just not sure on lap, what are we on, 66 when that wreck happened?
I get your
wanna
point.
give that up.
I get your point, but the problem is what was behind Kyler Wynn at the time. In other words, if he lifts, who's behind him? How close were they behind him? Were they just going to shove him anyways? And that's what you have to think about. Those split-second decisions. And let's watch it here again. So we're going to see a replay here.
Yeah, we'll see right here. It's just, I get it, because you're going to get, if you lift right here, you're just going to get slammed in the back by the car in front of you. It's just, I feel like making it 3 wide right there is just asking something.
Can we rewind that replay and maybe look on a rear chase? I want to see what was behind Kyler at the moment of the contact here, if we can. Yeah, like he's getting pushed. Yeah, maybe he could have lifted a little. That's so hard though. Like,
absolutely, split-second decision. I mean, it's easy to sit here in the booth and say what all these guys should have done the other way. I completely get it. It's just, I don't know, maybe just a little apprehensive. But you see those guys that were involved in that on pit road. Sean Butler throwing roasts out in game chat. A little displeased. Landon Collins coming down the pit road from the lead now, who stayed out earlier, which will give the lead to Seth Knoll. But I mean, for the most part, you're seeing a bunch of familiar guys up front. The only guy that hasn't really been up here, I'd say, is Jonathan Oates, is poking his head up inside the top 10 for the first time. So a good run for him tonight. But I mean, a lot of our playoff guys are running in the back right now, as you see Jonathan Oates right there. Yeah, this is the highest that he's been all night. Tough night so far for Jonathan Oates. Has been quiet, which, maybe at Talladega is what you want.
Yeah, it's definitely what you want for a while. I mean, we're 50 to go. We're, as you said, more than halfway. I think 1 or 2 more cautions, or maybe 20 laps from now, it's officially go time. Even if you do want to hang in the back and you do want to be a part of that pack, which we have seen different drivers do throughout the night. We've seen Cozy back there. We've seen a few others back there just kind of hanging out. But at a certain point, you have to stop doing that, or you're going to find yourself at a spot where you're out of time and, whatnot. But we're not going to go green here. The officials have waved off this restart, Caleb. So we're going to pace it around one more time here. Justin Malillo is your leader. And then Seth Noel, Daniel Falkingham, Blake Reynolds, and others at the front of the field here.
Okay, so trying to get some clarification for why we extended the start there, but Justin was incorrectly. Yeah, he is. He's looking at that last incident because I guess there's been a little bit of debate. So Benjamin Easterday, who is race control, big fan of Ben, but he needed some assistance in determining what to do after that last wreck for wreck points and the various things that the FTF admins are responsible here for. So Justin is not the leader, but he will go ahead into the pit lane and review that and regain his spot, and will be 1 to go by that point. Seth Noel, your leader, Daniel Falkingham in second. But we will try to get clarification on that because whoever's determined to be the cause of the wreck, they'll have to be EOL'd and such. So now we will be coming to 1 to green after everybody's been formed up.
So let's take a second here, Caleb, under caution, and talk about this because it's easier to do. At Talladega, there are many tools available to a driver that can assist you. I took a look at a roster earlier, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, only 3 of the drivers here, which is, I think it's Dylan Bazin, Jackson Carr, and Brandon Hawken have a live spotter with them. To me, that is surprising because a live spotter at a place like Talladega or even Daytona is such a big deal. Because the iRacing spotter will tell you inside, outside, or 3 wide. It won't tell you how far inside, how far outside. It doesn't tell you where a line is moving. I'm surprised there's not more live spotters in this race tonight, honestly.
Yeah, and you know, it takes a lot of trust to be a live spotter here at a plate track for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have one friend who I let live spot when I drive, and it's there's full trust there. There are tools available with either be VR or triple screens. Be able to turn your head and see beyond just that straight-on single monitor view. Such a great tool for super speedway drivers to know how far inside, how far outside, or you can see things happening a little bit deeper in front of you. The tools available to iRacing members to get some assistance has vastly improved over time.
Absolutely, but I mean, you see most of these guys tonight running just fine with their in-game spotters. Seth Knoll, Daniel Falkingham up front right now.
Yeah, I think it was it Pankari we saw earlier on the feeds that had his VR headset on, I think.
Yeah, that's gotta be so crazy sitting in there with the VR headset, looking around, feeling like you're actually in the car, and you see one car from the high side fly into the side of your race car. It's gotta be something.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Right, a pace truck's down. Let's do it again. There he is.
So we'll see this restart. That's Brett Pankari. Very immersive feel for him. Seth Knoll, Daniel Falkingham, Landon Mills, Blake Reynolds, and Ethan Corder, your top 5. Looking for some of these guys to get grouped up just a little more. Blake Bryant with space to the car in front of him. Green flag in the air. Seth Knoll will clear up to the outside in front of Daniel Falkingham. Daniel Falkingham going to switch places with him and now go to the inside. Seth Knoll left out to dry. He's got Jonathan Oates behind him. Will he opt to go down into the inside lane? Don't think so. Blake Reynolds going to shoot up front. Here comes Tyler Gary. Back behind him, the outside lane going once again. And now Jonathan Oates, who we were just commending on having a good run so far tonight, will find himself going all the way back. Wyatt Tinsley now finds his way around him. I'll get slotted back in line. This outside about 3 cars ahead of the inside. Out of turn 4, though. Big run from Seth Knoll. Going to just hold on to it. Daniel Falkingham, your leader at Talladega.
All right, well, once again, that high side is the dominant side here. As you see these guys tucked in together, you got Falkingham, Reynolds, Noel, and Tyler Gary here. But nope, never mind. Someone's already decided they had enough of that. And back to the bottom we go here.
Tyler Gary and David Cabrera making a charge for the lead here. Landon Mills through the middle line with Frank DeAngelis. 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Now going to become a double file formation. Now DeAngelis going to dip to the inside of Mills. They find themselves 3 wide once again. Big shove from Tyler Gary to that inside lane. The outside lane, however, is where you want to be. That momentum all up there.
Caleb, process this for a second. Top 36 cars, 2 seconds apart at the line there. That's how close Talladega Racing is. 2 seconds apart for 36 cars. That's awesome and scary at the same time.
Absolutely, and that's what you come to expect. This is the pack formation. As you see, we got 1 car sideways in the back, going to get it all settled out. And I believe that was Ethan Corder who was sideways. Deciding to drop out of line, and you know, that's a completely respectable decision. I don't know what sane human being would want to be in the middle of that right there.
Yeah, it's scary because not only are you worried about just what can happen, you're worried about making sure you don't screw it up, that you don't become what happens. Yeah, I don't like being in the middle.
Cosman
nice.
Almost saw what happened last time, except Cosman decided to stay with Tyler Gary. Michael Cozy Jr. was just absolutely all over the back end of that 84. Great job to not cause a wreck there.
Now let's stick with this for a second here. Watch Cosman here. He's going to try to line it up here Maybe going to bump in. Let's see what happens here. He's going to make a nice run through, passing here.
Absolutely. Now Cosman will find himself 4 wide for second place. Cosman had Tyler Gary try to block him. Still 4 wide behind. Now 3 as Tyler Gary and Matt Spalding find their places in line. Cosman and Cozy. That's a hell of a duo here in the FTF. Barr Visuals Cup Series. My goodness.
And look at that first bump Cozy gave. Yeah. That first bump Cozy gave, I thought was going to turn Cosman around, but they got it collected. But now they're going to make up some time on the high line here. They got 3 cars back here to see if they can make it up.
Tinsley backs off the back of Landon Mills. Almost another wreck there. Cozy all over the back bumper of Cosman. He is out of control. Feels like watching Ryan Blaney navigate his way around this track. Just all over the place. Save after save after save. Hands all over that steering wheel. Great job by Cosman. He's still trying to navigate his way up to the front. Goodness.
And it's crazy what happens in that moment, Caleb, when you get turned like that and you start to lose the wheel. Depending upon the equipment you're using, either you'll start to lose a little bit of grip in your wheel.
Big checkup behind him. Matt Spalding has to duck out of line. The high line got stacked up, and we almost saw another wreck. Great job by David Cabrera and Matt Spalding to keep that in control. My goodness. Just heart rate through the roof right now.
It's crazy. As you can see, you'll start to lose some of that grip in your wheel, or if you have the pedals of the force feedback, your pedals start to rumble, let you know you're losing the car when someone turns you like that. It's a scary moment for drivers like Cosman when Cozy's pushing too hard, but they're going to lead it to the line, I think, here. Let's find out.
Seth Nolan and Alex Kolnick squarely in the middle lane. Landon Mills and Cosman side by side. Cosman credited with leading that last lap, however. Just out of control right now. Landon Mills, Wyatt Tinsley, Brian Mercurio on the outside. Cozy going to opt to go to the outside and leave Cosman. Now Cosman left out to dry. Frank DeAngelis leaving him as well. Now Tyler Landon is going to be to the back bumper of the 84. Bottom lane losing all momentum.
I tell you, Caleb, one thing that stuck out to me earlier, and it's going to stick out more. We're 42, coming to 41 to go here. As a driver, you're going to start to make mental notes about who leaves you behind, who hangs you out to dry, who works with you. Look at that. Ooh, Mercurio there. And they're going to get down there behind the leader. Those notes are going to come in real handy to assume about who pushes well, who doesn't push well, who left you out to dry for their own benefit. And that will shape how you possibly look at the end of this race.
And really interesting there, we saw it. Michael Cozy Jr. shuffled out of line. You know, you'd figure that everybody wanted to work with him. But he is shuffled to the back. He finds himself all the way outside now of the top 10 in 11th position. And now you see Frank DeAngelis, Seth Noel, big moves made once again. Gary on the front bumper of Cosman almost caused another one, and Cosman giving lots of space to Gary. And now Gary to the back of Seth Noel. We seem to be okay for the time being. Tyler Lane and Wyatt Tinsley now formed up behind him. Catch your breath. My God.
Yeah. Whew. All right, well, we're back here to maybe a tandem look for the moment here. We're going to look on board here with Justin Malello is in the middle lane here. Going to drive here down the back straight. And is just getting passed on the outside pretty frequently here.
Back up at the front, Wyatt Tinsley and Seth Noel just had a big moment as well. Seth Noel had a big bump from Tyler Gary in the makeshift Verizon machine. Almost sent that 122 car around. And now you see all the momentum is once again on the high side. And that's just how quickly things change here. I mean, you'll see them, you know, every 5 laps or so, you know, just not deciding between pack formation or single file if they want to work with somebody in particular. I mean, you saw Cozy and Cosman there were able to stick to each other like glue and make their way up to the front. And even Cozy had enough of Cosman, I guess, and shot up to the outside lane for himself. Now you find in a similar predicament Brian Mercurio and Tyler Lannon who are making their way up to the front.
Yeah, by the way, real quick note, look at Wyatt Tinsley and how...
Brian Mercurio almost gets turned off the front bumper of Tyler Lannon.
I was going to say, Look at Wyatt Tinsley and that car. Remember, he was just in a wreck, 5-10 minutes ago, and it's already back up front, and that car is showing no signs of damage. That's a lucky roll by him to get that. He could have easily been in the back of this pack with no drafting ability, but how hard that wreck was.
You see, as everybody tries to get that sorted out. Just all over the place right now.
Tinsley and Tyler Gary, of course, both Road to Pro drivers, which was featured here on FTF.gg, and round 2 has just concluded. We'll wait for the contender series. Multiple Road to Pro contenders are in this race, pardon me, and are performing well currently.
And you see, once again, opting to get side by side. Wyatt Tinsley right now with Tyler Gary behind him.
So something we've not talked about yet, Caleb, is there's really 2 things going on. For the playoff drivers and for those watching, those are the names in yellow on the left side of your screen. So Tinsley, Cosley, Reynolds, McAdams. We've already talked about it all tonight. Mercurio, Ionoshu, and others. Winning in. If you win this race, you have locked yourself into the next round of playoffs. You do not need to worry about the points. You're in. For these other drivers, there's nothing to lose here. Why not go full force? Why not win at Talladega and say, I did that? Because it's fun to do. Everyone wants to win at Talladega. So really, there's 2 different races going on in their own little sense here. But right now, Wyatt Tinsley, as of this moment, would lock himself into that next round if the race ended here, which it will only do in 36 laps.
And absolutely. And I mean, you see guys right now like Blake Reynolds, Michael Cozy Jr., who are leaders of their lines. It's just it's just a scale in your head where you gotta weigh what's more important to you. If you want to go for that race win, Blake Reynolds, big push, almost sent him out of control in front of Michael Cozy Jr. And that's why you see guys, like Blake Reynolds, who have, they have things to lose here tonight. You don't want to have a bad points day, especially when you only have one more week at the Roval, which is unpredictable in itself. Next week, you don't want to put yourself in a bad position here. So it's just, you always have to weigh the pros and cons of always going for it. But coming down to 36 laps to go, you start to feel that urgency if you're one of those guys. If you're like a Brandon Hawken who's running towards the back right now, whether or not you want to make a surge up to the front.
Well, and you're right. You have to gauge your comfort level at the Roval. Blake Reynolds is a well-known road racer on the iRacing service. I've seen him do it before. He's done the 24-hour events. He probably feels fairly comfortable at the road course. So maybe the Roval, pardon me. So maybe he's not as concerned. Maybe he thinks he can have a good point day. If you're someone who doesn't like road course racing or isn't that great at the Roval, you're going to feel more pressure to score points tonight so that you think you can have a bigger buffer for next week's race. Look at this bumping going on here, by the way. This is good quality textbook bumping here by these 2 drivers. By that's Tinsley there bumping Blake Reynolds around.
And another thing to note that we saw just a few laps ago in that near wreck with Brian Mercurio, you might have noticed that Kevin McAdams went all the way down to the apron to try to avoid that near accident, and that is because tonight there is no double file rule enforced, and that's something definitely to keep an eye on as we get closer to the finish. If you don't want to give up your momentum on the last lap, that's a viable option for you. You can go all the way down there to try to make a move.
Yeah, at Talladega, it's not as prevalent, I think, because there's that grass right there next to the tri-oval. I mean, they'll do it, don't be wrong. The back straight's where we're going to more likely see it probably come into play on the last lap or 2, but you got to time that right. So here we got the 3 wide moving again. You see that Battle Beaver machine there in front of him here.
Yeah, double yellow line rule, not double file, I guess is what I said. So yeah, no double yellow line rule there. As you see, once again, squirrely on the inside. And that's another thing too, you got to keep an eye on your temps at all times. If you are glued to the back of one of these guys, you're going to overheat sooner or later. So, I mean, guys to watch out for, Tyler Gary and Daniel Falkingham specifically, I feel like they've been glued to the back of Wyatt Tinsley and Blake Reynolds respectively for the past 5 or 6 laps now.
So if we can, now that things I think have settled for a second, if we can move back here, if we can get a shot here. We talked earlier about drivers who want to hang in the back and wait till the last moment. Let's take a look at Kwame Scott, Nathan Rabideau, who we saw earlier, Chris Wetz. They're back here. That's the 71 car, the 93. They definitely have taken that strategy here. They're going to be way in the back. They're 9 seconds off the pace currently. And I'm starting to wonder now if they're going to regret this because we're running out of time, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing to think about here for these drivers. 32 laps to go. I mean, at Talladega, especially from what we've seen today, where you're able to go back and forth, 32 laps isn't a lot. But if you want to be able to go get up and contend for the lead, like everyone's going to, it's just a question of when do you make that move, because you don't want to make it too early to where you're going to get cycled out, but you definitely don't want to make it too late because everyone at that point is already charging and taking no hostages per se. And you'll find yourself locked out of that front 10-15 cars.
Yep, we're going to come around here to probably next time by is when the pit window will officially open, assuming we would have no green white checkers, so you do have to plan for that. So maybe not until lap 25 or so will the pit window really open for these guys. But pit stops could happen at any time. Obviously they have more fuel than that, but it's who wants to do what when. There is an advantage to getting down on a clean pit road and being the only guys there. Seeing more shuffling at the front here with Alex Kolonix and Parker White back to the front here. But there is some advantage to getting down pit road first, having a clean pit road, having a clean pit exit, and not having to battle traffic, not having to worry about checking up for all the drivers. Sometimes that's worth what you may lose. It's a real hard decision to make when you pit, especially for those guys with live spotters. That's a lot of conversation happening in their ears, I guarantee you.
Absolutely, and you see a bunch of these guys starting to form on the bottom side. Big move. I believe that was Kevin McAdams. But
Look at that,
seeing these
the
guys
first
on
time
the
tonight.
inside, yeah, Kevin McAdams. Whoa, big bump. Thought he might have been trying to come to pit road, but I think Cozy just delivered a really aggressive bump. And
Well,
Kevin
I said for the first time tonight, strike that.
Yeah, Kevin now, after poking his head up front, will find himself all the way back. It looks like outside of the top 15.
Man, just think about that. Think about how frustrating that is for Kevin McAdams. You were first 30 seconds ago. Now you're in 20th-ish. That's, oh, man.
It completely changes the scope of your race, the scope of your strategy. I mean, all of it changes in the blink of an eye here at Talladega. Once again, seeing everybody on the bottom here. And as you said, that pit window is officially open. Seeing if we have any takers. Everybody going to stay put, looks like for now. Michael Cozy Jr., Landon Mills, Brian Mercurio, these guys that we've seen up front all night long. Continuing on here in the top 3 positions.
Yeah, it's hard pressed to find guys who want to come early because shorter pit stops do mean, more time gained on track. I would suspect we might see some gas-only stops in this round, but some guys will want to wait till the end, hoping that caution comes out so that they can not lose a lap or not lose time. There's a bunch of strategies that's going to play out here.
Oh, contact! Tyler Gary just went around. Contact with Justin Malillo. He'll try to merge back up 4 wide. He's going to do it, though. We were on board with Justin Malillo when he made the contact. And they just bumped doors, and all of a sudden, Tyler Gary finds himself shuffled from 4th all the way back to it looks like outside of the top 10, outside of the top 15 even.
And look what that does. All that uncertainty and all that, checking up and everything that happens, that is us Cozy and Mills get a temporary lead here. And that shows you what can happen at any given moment here.
Lots of impatience from these guys now as we get into 27 laps to go. Lots of guys feeling the pressure, not wanting to give up that so valuable track position. And that's the point I was going to make earlier, was that if you pit too early, there's no going back. There's no guarantee that a lot of these guys pit with you. And you don't want to be on an island by yourself, especially this late in the race, because you will get lapped quickly here at Talladega. It is a almost 3-mile super speedway, but you with how fast these guys are going, you will find yourself a lap down if you don't have drafting help. Blake Reynolds just cut it down to the grass, making it 4 wide on Alex Kolonix. They are still 4 wide. Contact almost between Cosman and Nate Stewart, and they are still 4 wide behind him. Cosman gets shuffled out, and that was all because Blake Reynolds went into the tri-oval grass to try to pass. I believe it might have been Parker Collins. I'm not quite sure. They'll get it sorted out.
Hopefully.
But goodness.
Yeah, you are right though. You don't pit alone here. So right now, the Discord voice chat or the private chats within iRacing are going crazy right now. Guys saying, "Hey, how much gas you got? When do you want to go? Can you go this time? Let's get to the bottom." There's a lot of coordination and pit stops at a super speedway. You can't just go. You're gonna have to work with people, and that can be the hard part, is getting that figured out.
New poll up if you have any fans that you would like to contribute. Asking, will we get a full round of green flag pit stops? Will we get through that? Will we get to the other side still under the green flag? So feel free to make your voice heard. Have a few big bets on yes. Quite surprising. I thought the chat would be rooting for chaos.
I'm not rooting for chaos, but I think chaos is the right answer.
We'll see for sure here in the next few laps. Brian Mercurio, big move down to the middle lane.
Caleb, as Falkingham's going to lead another lap here, I'm not positive, but this feels like the most laps in a row anyone has led so far tonight. Like, this is a pretty consistent run by Falkingham. We've been swapping leaders pretty fast here. This is a few laps in a row for Falkingham that he's led now. Gonna have a lap car on the bottom here.
Hearing some discourse over the team radios about strategy here. You see Brett Pancari coming in now, or coming out of the pit lane, excuse me. But you see we're starting to get formed up. Brian Mercurio, namely, and now you see Landon Mills falling in line with, I believe that was Jackson Carr as well. So we'll see if they'll decide to take it this time. No, going to opt to stay out on the racetrack. But we are definitely getting closer. And just as you said that about Daniel Falkingham, Landon Mills cycles back up to the lead. He leads that last lap. Jackson Carr as well.
By the way, we saw Brett Pancari go by it last time. We're seeing another lap car coming up here. This is the danger of pitting alone. Look at this. Look at the closing speed. And you have no drafting help. They're going to pass you by. And you're just going to fall to the end of the pack here. This is not the right way to do this if you can help it.
Dylan Basin just said over the radio that he is 1 lap to the good, and now Matt Spalding in the mix of that. And it looks like we're going to see our pit stops here. Green flag pit stops, and this is where potential calamity happens. Landon Mills going to find himself on the pit lane, locks it up.
That's a black flag, I'm sure.
Oh, and he does spin out on the pit lane. Almost makes contact with Daniel Falkingham, Ryan Naraki. And now Landon Mills is absolutely in a tough position. I'm not sure.
And insult to injury, has a black flag to serve for speeding into the pit. So as if it wasn't bad enough to spin the car under green, it's going to serve a black flag for speeding.
Yeah, and 1 rough round of green flag pit stops. I mean, I think Landon Mills for sure, the writing might be on the wall. Not a good time for him. It looks like this second group now is going to pit this time. Hearing some chatter over the radio from guys like Michael Cozy Jr., Brian Mercurio, and yeah, you will see Alex Kolonix. Gonna have 2 that stay out. Now everybody else.
There's another black flag.
1 car. Yeah, that was Parker Collins, made a late decision to come onto the pit lane, and he knocks out the commitment cone. That's going to be a big black flag from him.
Well, earlier you mentioned that Twitch chat, Caleb, about, would there be the full pit stops or would there be chaos? Well, Parker Collins and the 25 car are now both rooting for chaos, so they don't lose too many laps here.
Yeah, tough situation to be in for sure for Landon Mills, Parker Collins. Those guys going to need some luck on their side to get out of the predicament given there. Oh, and we got one car that just spun off the exit of pit road. That was Alex Kolonix. As you see, he will try to merge his way back up in line. You see this group of cars that has previously pitted. That's Wyatt Tinsley, Daniel Falkingham, Justin Malillo. As they work their way back through.
Well, and I'll
this
tell
is
you,
where you see.
and I'll tell you, Caleb, some people ask, how do you do that? Like, how do you spin the car like that? You know what? For these guys right now, let me just take a look real quick. I was trying to find Alex's pit stop time, but probably no tires, I'm going to guess here, or even cold tires. It is super easy to get those tires spun around on that. That pit surface down there is not smooth. You can spin those things pretty easily if you get on the gas too hard when you're trying to keep up with your draft pack. That's an easy thing to do, despite what people think. See Tinsley here making a big push here on the outside.
That's to the back of Tyler Gary. You saw Daniel Falkingham, or that was Parker White, excuse me, had the lead and got shuffled out. Now Tyler Gary and Wyatt Tinsley will be the leader of that outside line. And these guys on the inside, you know, just coming out of the pit lane, Tyler Landon, namely, I mean, they had to get up to speed and catch this pack just perfectly, and I'd say they've done that. I mean, it took them a little. There was a little discrepancy there in the momentum, but for the most part, these guys are blended well back together.
Yeah, blending happened pretty well back together. As a note, did take a look at the pit stop times. Everybody, 4 tires and gas, no short pits, nothing, no tricks, no shenanigans. So we're all set up here for the end plus some if needed.
And right now, 3x3x3, as Derek loves to hear. For the most part, these guys are packed up, for the exception of the 3 cars out front. And now what you're seeing outside of this main pack is you're having these little bubbles of cars that have come off pit road together. So guys like Lucas Plessel, Jonathan Oates, Alex Kolonix, who spun off pit road. And then you'll look further back in about 25th, you'll see Michael Cozy Jr., Ethan Corder, Robert Dorman, all grouped together. So outside of this main pack, there are still fast race cars that are just kind of hoping for a yellow or something of that sort to even out the split a little.
Yeah, and it may not let them catch it in the 18 laps we have, but the other thing you're hoping for is just a lot of movement up here, as you're seeing a lot of shuffling back and forth. That's going to break these draft lines. It's going to slow these cars down, believe it or not. And if you are a 2, 3, 4 car bubble in the back here, and you just stick in line, you will catch these guys over time. Every time they move, every time they break their draft, every time they do something, they have to check it up. You will slowly catch on here. But yeah, they're probably hoping for a yellow to close that complete gap.
And you saw a big aggressive move from Brian Mercurio there. He finds himself in the lead now. Brandon Hawkin, big block from Frank DeAngelis up ahead of him. Into turn number 1, 17 laps to go, and you're starting to feel the pressure that those laps are winding down, and it feels like it gets faster as the race goes on. You know, you look up and there's 51 laps to go, and then all of a sudden you blink and we're down to 10. So
oh my gosh,
yeah. If you're one of these playoff guys, you know, how is that affecting you right now?
Oh, it's affecting you big because you're right in the car. Time is just, it's not an illusion, but it happens. Man, at first it feels like we can't get to lap 50. Now we can't get to 75. Oh my gosh, we're 10 to go. Where did the time go? And you're trying to make moves. You're trying to get to the front. You know, it's full go time at this point. You can't do anything else other than go, and see Tinsley here proving that with how hard he's pushing Mercurio here.
Tyler Gary in that line as well, on board now. This is Brian Mercurio, our leader. You see Wyatt Tinsley all over the back bumper of that Xfinity machine. Tyler Gary dipping all the way down to the inside line in front of Frank DeAngelis. He wants a piece of this lead. Oh, and now Brian Mercurio going to block that bottom line as well. Wyatt Tinsley now pulls to his outside.
Looking and bumping through the corners. It's a technique that not everyone approves of. Some people ask not to be bumped in the corners because it's such a sketch move. But you see Mercurio's going to lead it around here, and it's going to be the leader here coming to 15 to go.
Mercurio, DeAngelis, Falkingham, Carr, Gary, that's your top 5. Now Hawken moves his way up into the top 5 as you see that bottom line with all the momentum. Big move from Gary there. The middle line moves up to the top.
And it looks like we lost a couple cars off the end of the draft there, so the scrap line's gotten a little smaller here with 15 to go.
And that's Dylan Basin and Michael P. Frisch struggling to hold on. They're in tandem formation. Wonder how long they can keep that up before the car of Michael P. Frisch starts to overheat just a little. But they are trying their damnedest to stay up front.
Yeah, and about a 1 second gap is what you need here. We got a car down on the bottom of the track here.
Dorman. Robert Dorman. He was one of those guys in that group with Michael Cozy. You know, Cozy's not happy about that now because I think his draft group's gone down from 3 to 2 now. So he's definitely banking on a caution at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, just for the record, 1 second on your is about how far back you can suck in the draft here at Talladega in these next-gen Cup cars. So those guys are well out of the draft at this point. The good news is if chaos happens, they might be far enough back where they can check up and avoid it. We'll have to wait and see.
You see now a fair mix of playoff drivers up in this top 10. You're on board with Kevin McAdams. He's being pushed right now by fellow playoff driver Ryan Naraki. Nate Stewart on the bottom inside of them. Brandon Hawkins in that line as well. And a lot of these playoff drivers are guys that we haven't seen up here so far today. And now, with 13 laps to go, they are up in the mix for the win tonight.
Well, you know what? And the fun thing about Talladega is anyone in that picture right there is in the mix. And technically, anyone still on the track in the lead lap.
Block. Frank DeAngelis there. He's trying to get on Kevin McAdams. Not going to work. He got shuffled out of line. Tried to cut down in front of Kevin McAdams. And
McAdams did a great job there holding his spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job by all those guys to not. Oh, and as I say that, they wreck behind him. Blake Reynolds is around. That was Frank DeAngelis, who we just saw with the close call.
No.
Oh, and Michael P. Frisch, Dylan Basin right there. Blake Reynolds is heated over the radio. And I mean heated.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be heated. But the good news is, from what I can tell you, he's a clean car. It's going to be, 9-8 to go and restart here. It's going to be anyone still has a chance here.
And I believe that was between Tyler Gary and Frank DeAngelis on the outside. Just a misalignment of the bumpers there. Tyler Gary is pleading his case, claiming that Frank DeAngelis moved just a little bit before he delivered that bump. We will see that in an alternate angle.
That's the scary part that I don't understand right there. That part by Michael P. Frisch and Blake Reynolds, caution's well out, but let's take a look here.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was from Gary or if that was from Frank DeAngelis, that movement. But for Blake Reynolds, just nowhere to go. And then side by side between Frisch and Basin there.
Yeah, also Wyatt Tinsley here is another playoff driver, and he's going to find himself in the grass here as well. Let's take a look at it.
We'll get an onboard here. This is Dylan Basin. You see the wreck happening up ahead of him. Caution is out. And you see that's Blake Reynolds just at the last second. Almost big calamity there. Good job by Blake Reynolds, Dylan Basin to stay out of each other because that was almost a terminal incident for both of them.
Yeah, so someone got turned on the top lane there and came down into Blake. And then you see Tinsley and others get together.
Just nothing much for some of these guys to do. We'll try to get one more angle here. On board with Tyler Gary. So you see, you get sucked to the back of Frank DeAngelis. That's such a close call. I believe they're going to assess this wreck on Tyler Gary, who will be now given an end-of-line penalty. And he will find himself all the way at the back of the field. But yeah, such a tough call there on the movement between those two cars. It's just, sometimes it is just a 50-50 where one guy will move up just a little bit, one guy will move down just a little bit, and all of a sudden you're completely misaligned.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to do at Talladega. It happens all the time here. So and now we're going to restart with 10 to go. It is go time for everybody. There's going to be 20. How many cars here in the lead lap? I was trying to take a look real quick here. A lot. There's still 34 cars on the lead lap at this point. That means as of this moment, there's still 34 eligible winners for this race, Caleb. And we might see all 34 of them lead the race before this is over.
Absolutely. We will get that finish for you right after this. 11 laps to go, and the kick in the tires, 500K from Talladega. Your leader is Daniel Falkingham. Welcome back to Talladega. 10 laps to go. Doubt this will be the final restart, but we are right there. Daniel Falkingham, Kevin McAdams, your front row. Jackson Carr, Ryan Naraki, and Brandon Hawkin, your top 5. Coming to the green flag out of turn 4. And Derek, we've had a pretty crazy race up to this point, yeah?
Oh, we're having a pretty crazy race, and we're going to have a pretty crazy race here. Pace truck down. Let's see what Falkingham does with it.
Absolutely. You see everyone now kind of bunching together. Cosman all over the back bumper of, or the front bumper, excuse me, of Frank DeAngelis. So lots of these guys wanted to get formed up before. Through the middle of the tri-oval, coming to the green flag. 10 laps to go from Talladega. Daniel Falkingham, Kevin McAdams, green flag out. And the kick in the tires, 500K. Side by side through turn 1.
Suspect to see McAdams quickly move here in the lead, but the top lane was more formed together, but now it's already a third lane, so we'll see here.
And that was who we were talking about before that last caution. Guys that needed a yellow. Michael P. Frisch, Michael Cozy Jr. All of a sudden, those guys are right back in the mix. Alex Kolnick, Jonathan Oates going to join that line. The third line trying to make something out of nothing right now, but Kevin McAdams going to have an advantage over Daniel Falkingham out of turn number 4, coming to 8 laps to go now.
So far, Caleb, that top lane is having a little bit of luck now. They got some more help here. Now they're really going to get moving. Oh, and McAdams to the top now.
3 wide once again, 8 laps to go at Talladega, and I don't care how fast you think you can make it up to the front. If you want to be in contention for this win, you have to go now. 8 laps is just absolutely no time, especially if it stays green. Daniel Falkingham, Kevin McAdams, Nate Stewart in 3 cars. Right now, you're on board with Kevin McAdams, pushing the leader, Daniel Falkingham.
So you said you wanted to race at Talladega, huh? Well, this is what you get. 3 wide racing, intense white knuckle racing here in the FTF Racing League here at the Kicking the Tires 500K on FTF.gg. Tense racing here, and it's not going to let up. 7 to go now.
Jackson Carr to the inside of Daniel Falkingham. He and Brandon Hawken are trying to keep up with these leaders, but that bottom has just died out. We had a big checkup from the Speed 8 cars in the middle line, and that has just stacked everybody up, and now you're going to see some new contenders. Cosmin Ionescu gets to the middle, trying to make something with Jonathan Oates now. Still side by side, coming to 6 laps to go at Talladega. You see Frank DeAngelis in the middle now, trying to lead that middle line. And just nowhere to go for these guys back here. I mean, it is just 3 wide, every row deep. I mean, everybody.
Yeah, it really is. And look at that. DeAngelis, by the way, in the middle, leading the middle after that wreck he just had with Blake Reynolds and others. So good to see these cars are surviving the damage tonight. But now a gap here, got a tandem on the bottom.
And that tandem is Jackson Carr and Brandon Hawken once again. These lower lines can just not get formed up like this top side can. And now you see Michael Cozy Jr. going to dip out of that high line to go with Brian Mercurio, 2 playoff drivers. Brandon Hawken in the middle line. He's going to get left out to dry. Jackson Carr, Brian Mercurio, Michael Cozy Jr. on the inside, trying to challenge these guys on the outside.
Wrecking.
Oh,
they saved it.
That's Lucas Plessel. He's going to save it. We stay green. 5 laps to go from Talladega off turn 2. That was Tyler Gary. Just took a big, oh my goodness. He saves it, is not pleased over the radio. 5 laps to go. Doubt he makes up that much time. Mercurio, Jackson Carr. They're going to make a run for the lead, and now Mercurio is going to dip to the outside line. That's going to leave Carr and Cozy on the inside. Mercurio now leads the outside. That's been led by Daniel Falkingham as we're wrecking through the middle. Ciasco is going to make it into Colonix. Justin Melillo's around. That's going to be a caution. Cosmin. Oh my goodness, Ciasco. It was 4 wide. And sooner or later, with the amount of moves that are being made with 4 laps to go, that's going to happen. We'll get a replay here for you, but it felt like they were wrecking for half a lap. But now we find ourselves in feels like every Talladega race, a late race caution going to set up a late race restart. You'll see it right here. 4 wide. And yeah, just contact. Hawken went to the inside of, I believe that was Ciasco. And there's just not room for it. Especially, and Ciasco was trying to make room for Hawken and came up to that car that was up above him. Believe Naraki. Yeah, you see Ciasco right here just... And then Naraki from out front of Justin Melillo's on board. Just nowhere for him to go as well. He finds himself collected.
And I tell you what, Caleb, these are the hard things. You've had a good race all night long. You've had maybe a clean race all night long. And this one moment when you're just 4 to go, you're so close, you can see it. You start to think maybe I can win this thing. And that happens to you right there. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Few hard impacts. Alex Kolinix, who's had an up and down night. He'll find himself cycled out of this lead group now after being involved in that. On board with Jonathan Oates here. We'll get to see this wreck from his perspective. You see it starting right up ahead of him. That 4 wide that we're talking about. He chooses the high line and just nowhere to go into the... Almost makes contact with Cosman, and he's able to make it through. Great avoidance from that Jonathan Oates machine.
Yeah, that's the best. I mean, obviously you don't want to hit the grass because of the danger of it, but that's a clean line right there. That's a good wreck avoidance. I'll take hitting the grass over anything else.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were talking about earlier. Just if you're up in that high line, it's really hard to avoid accidents. Well, that's a textbook example of how to do it there from Jonathan Oates.
Yeah, and I was starting to get worried during that replay. He was moving up right before that contact. It's like, oh no, he's gonna get stuck. But luckily there was no one to his inside. All right, well, this is gonna be the first of our 3 green white checkers. I'm assuming most of you know, but let's go through it anyways. When we get 1 to go, the pace car pulls down, we get a green flag. If we make it around again, it's a white flag. The race is official. We'll race it out to the end. If we don't make it back, we'll yellow and we'll line them up again. We'll do it up to 3 times. So this is the hard part, because now it's go time for everybody, because you can't bank on another one happening, but everyone's also scared of another one happening. It's a real mind teaser is a word I can use right now.
Yeah, and as you said, you can't guarantee that one's going to happen, so you have to go all out. But then in going all out, you're
almost making one happen.
Yeah, I was about to say the likelihood of another wreck happening, and it skyrockets. And I'm really interested to see the aggression out of guys like Brian Mercurio, Cozy, McAdams, Stewart, Frisch, Hawken, Reiner, Rocky. You see back in 12th, who was just involved in that last accident. What the thought process is out of them. How aggressive are you as a playoff driver?
I mean, how aggressive are you as a driver who just wants to win Talladega? I mean, yeah, the playoff driver is a whole new wrinkle that you're right about. But how aggressive are you as a super speedway driver? I mean, like how aggressive they were back in lap 5. Remember, lap 3, you're talking about how aggressive Malik Ray was in this race. And, here we are 114 laps later, and we're still having the same conversation.
Should be getting the 1 to green this time by Brian Mercurio, your leader. We'll get formed up and we'll go again.
So there's this odd moment that's going to happen right here on 1 to go, Caleb, where if you're near a teammate, you're going to try to be working out how you line it up together. Do you jump the restart or lay off a restart to let your teammate in, or just someone who maybe treated you well earlier, someone who didn't dump you so they could take the lead, or someone who pushed you well? There's a lot of mental chess going on right now amongst these teams and these drivers, and the teams, about who do I want to go with? Who do I trust? Who won't be selfish and leave me for their own benefit?
Yeah, it's all just trying to figure out who you want to work with in the time like this. Overtime at Talladega. It's your textbook scenario. And if you're Brian Mercurio, what are the thoughts going through your head right now? Do you feel like a sitting duck, or do you feel more in command of this race?
Oh, you feel like a sitting duck. We've seen the outside lane work so much. I think if I'm Mercurio, based on what I've seen from this race, I'm going to try maybe to jump this start as best as I can and get to the high side. That's the only thing I can think of in my head right now. I mean, he's got Falkingham behind him. Now Falkingham has been really consistent this race. Maybe that helps change his mind, but we'll wait and see what happens. I think he's going to try to move up top here. All right, well, in the words of Molly Hatchet, we're traveling down the road and flirting with disaster as we come to our first green white checker here.
Absolutely. And just in case, real fast, if this is our last restart, I just need a quick pick. Who are you going with?
I'm going to go for McAdams. I think McAdams has shown that the subtle stealthiness to do it. I'm going to go with McAdams.
All right, well, we'll see if that holds true coming through the tri-oval for what is potentially the last time in the Kicking the Tires 500K from Talladega. The Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series is green. Brian Mercurio on the inside, taking control of that restart. He's got Daniel Falkingham glued to the back of that race car. They are rocketed out into tandem. Kevin McAdams as well. He's going to inherit the lead of the inside line as Brian Mercurio and Daniel Falkingham fall in line on the outside in front of Jackson and Cozy.
I'll tell you what happened. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Mercurio right there, big block, and now they're wrecking behind him. That's Tyler Gary around. Landon Mills, it's the big one. Goodness.
Oh, back up the track. Oh, that's not good.
Blake Reynolds just narrowly made it through. Chris Wetz was in that. Wyatt Tinsley in it as well. And that's what you're expecting out of these green-white checkers at Talladega.
Yeah, there was some hints of it before it happened because Kimi added two. We saw a couple of cars come up to high and scrub the wall out of two. And actually, I mean, you saw some debris flying. And it just kind of kept going from there. So I'm curious to see what happens here. Let's take a look.
So as you see, Mercury and Falkingham, they kind of get split apart there. So see it right there. Oh, yeah. All right. So Nate Stewart and Michael P. Frisch aren't all the way lined up. Yeah, it feels like Frisch was feeling a little indecisive on if he wanted to work with Nate Stewart ahead of him or go into a third line. We'll see it once again, but Seth Knowles right there, and by the time Frisch makes his decision, he's not clear. It's too late at that point, and Ryan Naraki as well, just, again, nowhere to go for a lot of these guys. Tyler Gary gets turned by Landon Mills. Those two have had a few run-ins here tonight. See it right there. Once again, just Frisch a little indecisive, and that split second indecision you see causes a huge pileup on the backstretch. Landon Mills, was that Seth Knoll, just took a hard shot into the inside wall.
At this point, it's almost easier, Caleb, to talk about who wasn't in the wreck rather than who was in the wreck. I mean, look at this field back here. So you see, I said, it starts with these two cars in the wall up here out of two, but there's a wreck ahead of them. And that's what you're talking about with the others. Oh, there they are in the wall.
Oh, and they almost made it through. Just nowhere to go for that 109 machine.
Let's take a look at the onboard here.
This is Chris Wetz, I believe. See the wreck formulates up ahead of him. Yeah, Nathan Rabideau comes down into the side of him. Again, just nowhere to go. You know, you feel like at Talladega, there's plenty of room for 3-4 wide racing, but once those wrecks start, it's just everybody goes everywhere, scattering all over the racetrack.
You know, for Chris Wetz, though, that's not bad. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have contact. Don't misunderstand my point. But compared to the contact the other drivers had, he made out okay there. He got it sideways, locked it down, didn't hit a wall, I don't think. Just had some contact there. So he might be in okay shape here for this restart. So
coming the second of our three green-white checkers.
I say there's some upset drivers right now we can hear in our ears about who did what and when and where and how, but they'll sort it out. So to note there, I think actually this caution saved Brian Mercurio, because you made a note at the beginning of that replay. Mercurio and Falkingham got to the third lane, and I don't think that was on purpose. I don't think they meant to go that high, and they were about to get passed by the draft, I think, and Falkingham did. I mean, he's back in fifth, but Mercurio was able to save it right before the yellow. If that happens again, that may not go as well for them.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you're Brian Mercurio right now, you and Daniel Falkingham had the blueprint into staying up front. Now this time, Mercurio and Kevin McAdams are going to have to make a decision. And, you know, how are they going to play this out?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty positive, and I could be wrong. I think what happened is I think Mercurio drugged the brake a little bit and let Falkingham get on his back bumper to make that, because that was maybe one of the tightest restarts we've seen all night long, Caleb.
And real fast, we're getting the 1 to green. We're going to take a quick second to talk with our currently third place driver, Kevin McAdams. Kevin, you're in third right now. Is Jarvis in your ear telling you what to do? What are we doing here on this restart?
Jarvis is not within earshot, thankfully. Every time I used to race in my living room, he would scream and squawk all night long, all day long. But yeah, wish I had some help up here. The way these go, you really need some help. I've raced with Brian before for years, but he's gotten his own agenda, and me and Nate Stewart were trying to cut a little bit of a deal because we're a little bit further back in the points as well. Naraki, he's all the way back in 8th, so I think my best shot right now is just to see if I can shove Mercurio out to the lead, and if he lets me go up to the top, because right now that high line is just where you want to go. Whether it's the middle, if there's a third lane, then you gotta protect your right side. That's just the name of the game in these cars. So long way to go. I know there's green, white, checkered, but we could have another one of these, and odds are we will, and we'll figure it out from there. I'm just happy to be here. I was supposed to go to Talladega, but Hurricane Ian had other plans. I couldn't get a car for it, so we're here, and we're gonna make the most of it.
Absolutely. Good luck to you, Kevin. Thank you for your time. We'll let him get back. He's got a big thing on his hands here, trying to get around Brian Mercurio now. So, Derek, I asked you this last time because it was potentially our last one. Are you still sticking with Kevin here? Do you still feel that 26 machine? Or you going a different way?
Well, it's hard to do it now because he didn't sound confident. I'm still gonna go with it though. I don't like to move my picks here, so I'll stick with Kevin McAdams. Man, his lack of confidence that made it hard to do. All right, well, it's second green white checker. I'll try this again in the words of Sheryl Crow. Let's shut up and drive, and let's see what happens. I think that was Sheryl Crow.
Good reference there from you, but overtime. So potentially for the last time here at Talladega, Brian Mercurio, Jackson Carr, Kevin McAdams, Michael Cozy Jr., Daniel Falkingham, your top 5. Green flag from Talladega.
Look at the difference there real quick, Caleb. Look at how the difference in the restart there. Mercurio did not have McAdams on his bumper like they did before.
McAdams seemed hesitant to work with Brian Mercurio, and they are still glued to each other as we go through turns 1 and 2. Down the backstretch still, you see shuffling around. That top line led by Ryan Naraki, now Nate Stewart. Trying to make something happen. That middle is dissipating quickly. Brian Mercurio, Kevin McAdams, Daniel Falkingham all together on the inside. Mercurio going to move to the outside. That's Jackson Carr. Now a little bit of contact coming through the tri-oval. Brandon Hawken on the inside now. 3 wide in the back, but now it's Brian Mercurio taking the white flag at Talladega. He's got Michael Cozy Jr. right on the back door.
Yeah, we saw McAdams fall back a little bit as he got stuck in the middle here. You see the leaders go to the highest say, but here comes a challenge on the bottom, and there's McAdams.
McAdams and Nate Stewart on the inside out of turn 2 for the last time.
That's his teammate. That's what he wanted.
Oh, and they're wrecking behind him. Dylan Bass and Blake Reynolds make contact. They're going to wreck Blake Reynolds into Blake Bryant. The big one. Oh, my goodness. It's 15, 20 cars, but back up at the front. No hesitation for Brian Mercurio, Michael Cozy Jr., Parker White, last week's winner, all in the thick of it. Through the tri-oval for the last time. Cozy's going to wreck Mercurio. Nate Stewart with the run. Now Kevin McAdams coming as well. They're going to wreck behind him, and Nate Stewart will win at Talladega. My goodness, what a finish. Oh, my word.
Wow, just wow is the only word I have for you right now. Wow. At the moves and the contact made in that last lap. Wow.
Nate Stewart. Daniel Falkingham and Michael Cozy Jr. round out your top 3. We'll see as Blake Bryant, who was involved in that last lap accident, comes across the line. And Mercurio had it. We'll try to get a replay here for you, but Cozy, I'm not sure if it was a block gone wrong or what happened, but once he lost that drafting help, it was Nate Stewart who had all the momentum. Kevin McAdams had momentum as well, but got turned. And Nate Stewart, for his first Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series win of the season.
Yeah, there's a few things to look at here, Caleb. I mean, it starts in the back straight with Blake Reynolds and the others. That's the first contact that really breaks apart the draft and kind of changes the end of the race in so many levels. And then you have the wreck with Mercurio. And then you have the wreck here with McAdams and probably one I'm forgetting. But it's an interesting finish here. Congrats to Nate Stewart, though. He is the winner of this 500K race.
Nate Stewart, the winner, the kick in the tires 500K. We'll get all of that sorted out. And yeah, I mean, keep in mind, Nate Stewart, we were talking all day about playoff drivers. He had the right call. Nate Stewart now locked into the round of 8. And my goodness, what a way to do it here at Talladega. You see Blake Bryant up with him as well. And we'll get a replay here for you of this last lap. Brian Mercurio led us to the white flag. So you see he and Cozy get grouped up together. Parker White third in line behind him. Nate Stewart and Kevin McAdams were just glued together on this last lap.
Yeah, so for the back straight, we're going to want to focus on Blake Reynolds, I think, to see the first wreck here. But, okay. But that'll be the first wreck. We're going to catch that next. So let's watch this race here through, Caleb, and see what happens.
Yeah, so you see the big wreck on the backstretch has already happened. Looking at Nate Stewart and Kevin McAdams again, just tandemed and glued together. And talking to Kevin before the race, he said that the winner was going to be off a tandem. And here it is. You see Mercurio goes around off the nose. Then there's just not enough room for Kevin McAdams. My goodness, he goes onto his side in the tri-oval.
So I think what happens here is Cozy makes the move to the bottom behind Mercurio, and Mercurio is not clear. Here's the Blake Reynolds wreck here. This is the end of it. This is after the first contact. You see Blake Reynolds, I think he's going to come through here mostly. Nope, never mind. Yeah, mostly unscathed, actually. That's a hell of a save.
And that's the 31 machine. We'll see another replay of that wreck. Wow, and Blake Reynolds just drove all the way up.
Here's the start of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there, if he was just mad.
I think he's mad right there. I'm going to be honest. I think that was just frustration boiling over to come back up the track like that.
Can't call it either way because these cars can get locked together like that and cause stuff like that.
Yeah, if we
But
can go
either way.
Yeah, if we do go back, I think you'll see right here. This is a good call. If we can slow this down a little bit, what's going to happen here is Cozy's going to move right about there. Yeah, and Mercurio tries to go with him, and that's what happens here. Now this wreck here, this is just tight racing, I think here.
Kevin ends up on his side. But all of that aside, we have our 3, and we will take a second to speak with them. Third place so far, finishing tonight, was Michael Cozy Jr. Derek, you're alongside with him.
Yeah, he is the driver of the 99 car, Michael Cozy Jr. Michael, a wild ride on the last lap. Talk us through it. What happens here with you and Brian Mercurio?
Yeah, well, it's a tough deal. That last lap couldn't have worked out any better, right? You know, we hop up. I got on the right rear to the 83 there. Brian hops up, and then I'm pushing him the whole rest of the way. The only thing I didn't account for was having temperature. I got too hot too quick, and by the time like middle 3 and 4, I was red, and then out of 4, I was 286. And at that point, I'm like, well, I'm thinking about playoffs at that point. You know, obviously, if I had temp, I'm pushing Brian all the way to the line and trying to make a move that way because nobody's going to get there to us. I had every detail right except for the most important one there, and so I had to just make a move because at that point it gives me a chance to at least not blow my engine and then have a chance to win, and then maybe try to block these guys coming behind me. And as soon as I started moving out, Brian moved too, and I just like before I even like could do anything, he was already going around across my nose. So I like racing Brian. I really hate that it went down like that. I wanted it to at least get us to the line there before any of that nonsense, but it stinks, man. And then I could have had the race won. I didn't even think about the yellow line rule. I mean, we have so many damn problems wrecking every other line here. Anyways, I don't know why we got to do all that nonsense too. It's just, but I should have known that. I should have blocked. But I guess good points finished. But so close. It's just so hard to close these, man.
So we talked a lot in the booth tonight about teammates and working together. At one point, you ended up, I think, starting technically 1 and 3 in the bottom lane with your Altus Esports teammates. How important was that for you? Did that work out the way you wanted, or was that something you were even looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to work with anybody. Obviously, my teammates, especially anybody with the same livery as me, absolutely. But I'm happy to push anybody who wants to go to the front, or vice versa. So I hated to lose Matt so damn early on that backstretch crash. One of the backstretch crashes we had. He was right behind me when it happened. I was comfortable. We had Gary in there tonight, and I don't think I got to work with him once all damn night. And then whoever else there at the end, it comes down to it. People wreck out, and you just find your friends as much as you can. But that's tricky, man. But I just I got to shout out all the sponsors, man. Logitech, VRS. We had some good strong work in there in the first half, and then we lost Matt, and it just kind of we had to make the most of it there. But Cube Controls. Who else? We got all kinds of great partners at Altus, but. So close, man. So close. We're gonna get one of them Altus cars at Victory Lane here soon.
All right, when we look ahead, if you give me one word to describe your feelings about going to Roval next week, what would it be?
Scary.
Scary indeed. All right. Well, that is the driver of the 99 car, Michael Cozy Jr. And Caleb. That was a fun interview.
We'll get Daniel Falkingham in here now. He's alongside with Derek as well.
All right. Daniel Falkingham, driver of the 49. You finished P2 tonight in that crazy last lap race, or last lap, battle, whatever you want to call it. Walk us through your view of the last lap. What happens here?
Yeah. Sorry. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that. My push talk wouldn't work. I got none. But just the last lap there. Just trying to in line. I was trying to get Frank to with me behind, but the problem was, I don't know if he had damage or unless he just couldn't break the bubble to get on my bumper. But so I just tried to ride behind McAdams there and Nate, just to ride in line, because I knew with Brian coaching them, they were going to get crazy and try to block and all that. So as long as I just stayed in line, I knew I had a shot to get there. So, but man, we came so close, man. But hey, glad to get Art Reimer, number 49 car, give him some good points, give him some good TV time. Got to thank him for letting me fill in for him while I guess he's dealing with some other stuff. But it's only my third race, but so close, man. But after the first 2 races I've had in this league, I am very happy with the P2, and I will definitely take it.
So tonight, consistently, we saw you up in the front, leading multiple laps at a time. What do you think? What was your success in doing so when other drivers were swapping the lead? It felt like every lap.
Yeah, just I definitely had a shot there. Like early, first, like the second to last restart, being there behind Brian, I was working well together with him and a few others during the race. I felt like I positioned myself well there, but I kind of made a mistake on my part because I was so worried about getting my right rear pulled back that I kind of lost a few spots. But that caution kind of saved me, so I was able to line up in a decent spot for the final restart, which I was all right with because I was kind of happy I wasn't the leader on that last restart because with this package, it's just the crazy runs, man. Like, especially with the tandem driving and all that, you're pretty much a sitting duck, like Brian was. Unfortunately, what happened to him there. But, yeah, just putting yourself in the right position, especially with how this package races. I like the package a lot, but still, this style of racing is just not my cup of tea. But when you have your good days, you're always happy. So, thankfully, we're in the right positions. We were able to capitalize there, stay out of all the wrecks, which was more important, and we were able to bring them a great finish.
There you go. Any last thing, sponsors, friends, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I don't have a car painted because it was a different number, but I do got to thank January 31st, First Rate Bait, Lobster 207, and SRD Setups, Sim Racing Development for their support. I got to thank everyone who runs the show over here at FTF. Gotta thank North Force Racing, Chris Gilson, Vince March, and the whole crew over there. Getting ready we made the Contender Series last Thursday, so we're getting ready for that to start up in November, so I'm really looking forward to that. And thanks to all those guys over there who got my back and just giving me all the support each and every week. It's been a long year, but we're ready to go in November, so thanks to all those guys. Thanks to everyone who races, makes this a good time over here. Thanks to you guys for being on the broadcast. Thanks to all the fans who watch us each every week, and thanks to friends and family for all their support. Now, I also got to thank Cosman, who actually paints my real car, Swatchco Graphics on them. Can't forget to shout him out.
There you go. Yeah, Cosmo's a good guy. All right, he's the driver of the 49 car. That's Daniel Falkingham, and he finished second place tonight. Yeah, Caleb.
And before we talk to Nate, we'll take a quick look, get a rundown here. So Nate Stewart, Daniel Falkingham, Michael Cozy Jr. Our top three. Frank DeAngelis comes home fourth. Parker White, last week's winner, in fifth. Cosman Ionescu in sixth. Wyatt Tinsley seventh. Tyler Lynn in eighth. Kevin McAdams, who we saw in the accident there, finishes ninth. And Jonathan Oates, a good run for him. He finishes 10th tonight.
Let's take a look at 11. That's Chris Wetz. And you got Lucas there in 12th. Justin Malolo came in 13th. Ethan Corder came in 14th. Kwame Scott, in 15th. Blake Reynolds came back in 16th after that last lap wreck. Griffin Jones in 17th. Jackson Carr in 18th. Marcus Ciasco in 19th. And Brian Mercurio rounds out your top 20.
And a quick note on Blake Reynolds. He does not come home 16th. He was EOL'd after that last caution. The race control deemed he caused that for an unsafe merge. So he will be put at the end of the lead lap there. Moving on to 21st, Parker Collins, Alex Kolonix, and Brandon Hawken are your 21st to 23rd. David Cabrera in 24th. Matt Spalding in 25th. Brett Pancari, 26th. Dylan Basin, 27th. Tyler Gary, 28th. Ryan Araki comes home 29th. And Blake Bryant, involved in a few accidents tonight after starting second. He finishes 30th.
All right, and then Nathan Rabideau in 31st. Seth Noel in 32nd. Landon Mills in 33rd. Kevin King, Robert Dorman, Michael P. Frisch, Matt Dawson, Kyler Wynn, Sean Butler, and Spencer Ray round out your top 40.
Looking at the last three here, Michael Guest, Phil McCandless, and Malik Ray. Those latter half were taken out in that first lap wreck. That is your Kicking the Tires 500K rundown. Now, we will talk to our race winner, Nate Stewart. What a finish and what a way to get your first win on the season. Nate, how are you feeling?
Very ecstatic, to say the least. That was very cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, we saw you navigate it. Just take us through that last lap from your view. I mean, what was going through your head?
Well, the biggest thing was we made it to the white flag, so I knew I had a shot then. Really, just I knew I had to run on Parker, and me and Kevin were working together. So, really, this is all because of him. He just shoved me through that last lap, and unfortunately, Brian got spun there at the end. But I mean, that's just hard racing. We're all going for the win and a spot to advance into the next round. But yeah, Kevin shoved me that entire final lap, and luckily, I was able to just sneak past Cozy and the tri-oval and somehow pull it off. That's crazy to me.
Absolutely. And I mean, now, as a playoff driver, you don't even have to worry about the Roval next week. I mean, what kind of a weight off your chest is that?
I'd say it's a pretty big weight off the chest, but I mean, the Roval is my favorite track on the service, so I'm looking forward to next week. The day we race the Roval is actually also my 22nd birthday, so I feel like I'm going to have to go back-to-back just to make up for it. But, I mean, so next week I just get to race how I want, really. I don't really have to focus on points or anything. I kind of feel like how AJ did today after winning the Xfinity race. I can just go into the Roval, mind clear, just go out and run it, and there's no consequences if something bad happens.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, OW tonight. We'll see if we can keep that up at the Roval next week. Congratulations on the win, Nate.
Thank you.
All right, and I mean, just what a crazy day. It felt like we had everything, Derek. I mean, from pack racing to tandems to fuel strategy. I mean, just what a night.
Yeah, one night chaos is our word of the day, right? That's the word we kept using throughout the broadcast, is chaos. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of tandems, a lot of really, well-timed bumps and moves. Very, very exciting. So I had a lot of fun tonight. So it was good to be able to hang out with you, Caleb.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward next week to the Barr Visuals FTF round of 12 finale from the Charlotte Roval. Tonight, Talladega, what more can you expect? I mean, it was just a great show all around. Thank you so much. On behalf of Zach Johnson, our producer, Derek Watson in the booth alongside me, I'm Caleb Hoffman. Nate Stewart is your winner from Talladega, the Kicking the Tires 500K in the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series. Thank you all for watching.